Chapter 2279 Get Out. I just passed by there. I never thought that I would encounter such a thing. At that time, my cultivation base was only at the 3rd level of the Void King, and the gods were fighting. I could only watch from a distance, so I saw everything in my eyes. Yang Kai added. What, you were at the 3rd level of the Void King at that time? Gao Shan Liushui was stunned for a while when he heard the words, and then he seemed to realize something, and shouted in surprise. If what Yang Kai said is true, 2 years ago he was only at the 3rd level of the Void King, but 2 years later today he is already at the 2nd level of Daoyuan, which is almost a small level a year. This speed of promotion and growth is simply incredible, horrible. If it continues to grow at this rate, won't it be Daoyuan 3rd layer next year, and Emperor Zun the year after? Of course, breaking through the Emperor's senior realm from Dao's source realm is not that simple, but Yang Kai can always do it in 10 or 20 years, right? What's more, Gao Shan Liushui also heard that this kid swallowed a 2 wonderful pill in the land of 4 seasons, and the probability of being promoted to the Emperor's senior stage is much, much higher than that of ordinary people. Thinking that the 2 of them have been searching hard for most of their lives and could not touch the threshold of the throne, but this kid has the hope of being promoted and breaking through at a young age. So, Yang Kai spread his hands. The death of Ningyuan City has nothing to do with me. Ning Yuenshu frowned, and didn't know whether to believe what he said. After a moment of silence, he suddenly woke up and said, what about my elder brother's things? I heard that you used a building ship in my Feixiang Palace before. Secret treasure, where is that secret treasure? Also, my elder brother also bought a fire-type weapon spirit at that auction, where is that weapon spirit? What did the young palace master say? I don't understand. Yang Kai squinted at Ning Yuenshu. Don't pretend to be confused. Ning Yuenshu was furious. My elder brother died when he died, but his things are still from my Feixiang Palace. I need to recover them. Yang Kai scratched his face and said, don't be like this, the Feixiang Palace family has a big business. What's the secret treasure of 1 or 2 buildings? Since it's nothing, give it back to me. Ning Yuenshu shouted. Hey, Yang Kai sighed, and said, okay. Let me tell you the truth, the secret treasure of the building has been destroyed. 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 Ning Yuenshu widened his eyes and said in surprise, impossible. That is a Daoyuan level building ship, which is enough to defend against a burst of onslaught by warriors below the Emperor's senior realm. It is impossible to destroy it so easily, like that building ships, even if I fly to Shenggong, there are not many ships. Yang Kai said seriously, it was destroyed in the hands of the Emperor's senior realm powerhouse. The secret treasure of the building and boat was indeed destroyed, and was smashed into pieces by Dianfeng, who took away Mo Shaoqi. Dianfeng was a strong person at the level of Emperor Senior. What's the point of destroying a building? Later, in order to compensate for Yang Kai's loss, Dianfeng gave Yang Kai a wooden boat secret treasure, although it is not as large and magnificent as the building boat, but it is simple and light, and it is quite convenient to use. When Ning Yuenshu heard the words, the corner of his mouth twitched immediately. Who did you provoke? Gao Shan also said in shock. You fought against the Emperor Senior Realm powerhouse. Didn't you die? For a time, several people from Feixiang Palace shocked Yang Kai into a heavenly being. It's not an exaggeration. Yang Kai blushed, it's just being trampled. Fortunately, that senior didn't mean to kill. He said, let's talk about it. After the death of Ning Yuancheng, the building the boat has become ownerless, and whoever picks it up belongs to him, and what I picked up naturally belongs to me, so what are you talking about? Okay, Ning Yuenshu snorted, even if the building is destroyed, what about the fire weapon spirit? It is said that the weapon spirit has already given birth to its own wisdom. Yang Kai sneered and said, young palace master has already said that the artifact spirit has already given birth to wisdom, of course he ran away. Ran, it's not like you haven't seen the power of a tool spirit that gave birth to its own intelligence before. Yang Kai sneered, pointing in his mouth. Naturally, it was the weapon spirit of the demon warrior. Hearing that Ning Yuenshu's complexion changed slightly, he clearly recalled the scene where Qi Ling went berserk before, and couldn't help but look a little shocked. So, nothing. Gao Shan frowned. What else is there? Didn't I give you an explanation? Yang Kai chuckled. As for the other strong man of your Feixiang Palace, Fu Stone, well. This person is powerful, I will say that I killed him, I'm afraid you won't believe it either. Look at you, you don't have the ability. Ning Yuenshu sneered, and said sarcastically, Elder Fu's death, City Lord Duan has already said, it was because of being eroded by demon energy. That's it. Yang Kai clapped his hands. He said with a grin, then our misunderstanding will be resolved, so don't pester me in the future, saying that I have harmed you people from Feixiong Palace. Young Palace Master, I think you are not bad. In the future, everyone will be good. Let's get along and be good friends. As soon as he heard him say the word, good friend, Ning Yuenshu couldn't help but look around reflexively, fearing that the magic weapon spirit would kill him again. It doesn't matter what you say. Gao Shan shook his head slowly. Then you have the final say. Yang Kai's face turned cold. It doesn't count if we say it. Lu Shui continued. Then who has the final say? Yang Kai's expression was gloomy. Gao Shan said, if you really have a clear conscience, you might as well go back to the Holy Palace with me and explain it to the Palace Master himself. The Palace Master will decide. That's right. Lu Shui also nodded and said, I need to go back to the Holy Palace. Hearing this, Yang Kai chuckled, looked at Gao Shan meaningfully, and said, Two guardians, have you misunderstood something? What? I'd like to explain this to you. I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of you. I just don't want to cause trouble for nothing. Believe it or not, but if you dare to provoke me for no reason. He said with a smile on his face. It was a smile, but there was a coldness in those eyes. Gaoshan Liushui was inexplicably cold all over, and suddenly felt an extremely dangerous feeling, and his pupils shrank suddenly. After thinking about it, Yang Kai has a very close relationship with Elder Gao Shueding of Qingyang Temple. Elder Gao just asked him to go to the room to find her at night in front of many people. With this relationship, they dare not face her again. Yang Kai did it, otherwise if Gao Shueding was angered, their lives would be in jeopardy. Even if the palace lord came here in person, there would be nothing he could do about Yang Kai, unless he was taken away without anyone noticing. Thinking of this, Gao Shan Lu Shui's elders suddenly felt that things were a little tricky. Gao Shan said, Young Master Yang, it's fine if you don't want to go back to the Holy Palace with us, but you have to write a letter for us. I'll show it to the Palace Master for inspection, so that the Palace Master won't blame us and say that we have neglected our duties. Come on, I went to Fenggalan City and did nothing. It's none of my business. Yang Kai snorted coldly. Farewell young Master Yang, if you have something to say. Gao Shan begged with a shy face. Get out of here. While Yang Kai was speaking, he swung the Emperor Treasure Million sword in front of him, and said fiercely, I will say it one last time, if you are still entangled and stubborn, don't blame me for being merciless already. When the words fell, the surging source of power surged up and down, and the pure spiritual thoughts also burst out violently, covering the two of Gaoshan Liushui. Gaoshan Lu Shui's expression was terrified, and he felt that the figure of the young man in front of him suddenly became extremely tall at this moment, covering all the light in front of their eyes, and the outward momentum was like a mountain pressing on their chests, making them unable to breathe. Until now, the two of them suddenly understood that Yang Kai's strength was probably not inferior to Luo Yuan. As if in a flash, and as if in thousands of years, when the two elders came back to their senses, Yang Kai was no longer in front of them, and there was a naked discomfort behind them, and they looked at each other, and they could see each other's horror. This person can't be provoked anymore. Gao Shan said in a deep voice, with a look of fear on his face. He consciously told himself that if he provoked Yang Kai again, he might really kill him. Flowing water wiped the sweat from his forehead, and nodded heavily. Then I was beaten up by him for nothing. Ning Yuenshu pointed at his cheek with grief and anger. He humiliated me severely before, and Zhuang Pan was also killed by him. I fly to the Holy Palace to swallow it. Does this make me hang around in the southern region in the future? Gao Shan glanced at him, and sighed. Zhuang Pan is a stingy villain, death is not a pity. As for the young palace master, hey, you should be bitten by a mosquito. The corner of Ning Yuenshu's mouth twitched when he heard the words, but the two elders said so. Even if he wanted to take revenge, he was powerless. He just felt that the bitterness in his mouth was too much to eat coptus chinensis. The Qin family, Yang Kai returned with Qin Chaoyang and others. He has nowhere to go in Fenggalan City now. Originally, he still had a rented cave, but he didn't rent it anymore after the time limit was up last time. Fortunately, the Qin family was no outsider to him, so it was only natural for him to live there. The members of Bafangmen also returned to this place, led by Luo Yuan and the round-faced woman to their own courtyard, and parted ways. However, Yang Kai looked at Luo Yuan with dangerous eyes, and he was afraid that he still wanted to fight with him, so he couldn't help but have a headache. Brother Yang, this courtyard was specially cleaned by the old man, and it is also one of the best residences of my Qin family, so you can rest here. Qin Zhaoyang personally brought Yang Kai to a courtyard and said, "Thank you, Patriarch Qin." Yang Kai greeted, "You're welcome. If you have any needs or orders, just greet the servants." Qin Zhaoyang laughed, "Okay, I won't disturb your rest, I'll go see how Yuer is doing." "Patriarch Qin, let's go." After Qin Zhaoyang left, Yang Kai led Zhang Ruoxi to the insider, and looked at it while walking. The area of the courtyard is not too large, but it is clean and elegant, the cleaning is spotless, and there is enough spiritual energy which makes Yang Kai quite satisfied. After watching for a while, Yang Kai asked Zhang Ruoxi to find a room to live in by himself, and then turned around, looking at Yi Qinghan who had been following behind him silently but like a shadow, deeply moved, sighed. Seeing him like this, Yi Qinghan quickly bit her red lips and forced a smile. "Stop laughing, it's uglier than crying." Yang Kai looked disgusted. When Yi Qinghan heard this, her delicate body trembled, her face turned pale, and the circles of her eyes were red. To be continued. Chapter 2280 Fate. "What's the matter? Come in and talk about it." Yang Kai tilted his head to signal, pushed open the door of a wing room and walked in. Yi Qinghan was startled when she heard the words, the grievance on her pretty face suddenly turned into joy, and she said softly, "Thank you, young Master Yang." She hastily followed in, lest Yang Kai go back on his word. In the wing room, Yang Kai looked left and right, but before he could see the furnishings and decorations in the room, Yi Qinghan took small steps, picked up the bench and placed it behind him, softly said, "Young Master Yang, please sit down." Quote. Yang Kai glanced at her, and he was not polite, stretched out his hand to shake his robe, and sat down with a golden knife. Yi Qinghan picked up the teapot on the table, poured a glass of water for Yang Kai, put it in front of him and said, "Young Master Yang, drink water." After she finished speaking, she flicked her bare hand, and suddenly a fruit plate appeared on the table, with some fresh and fragrant spiritual fruits on it. She smiled and said, "These are brought out by my concubine from Cheni sect. I don't know if they suit Yang. I have less appetite, and I hope young master will not dislike you." Yang Kai's expression suddenly became strange. He had never been served so attentively before, and secretly felt that Yi Qinghan must be very competent if she was a servant girl or something. "What do you want to do so sadly?" Yang Kai looked at her vigilantly. "You don't want to see me, do you?" "Let's say yes first. Although I am handsome, I am loved by thousands of girls and young women." He tossed his hair, changed the topic, and said in a deep voice, "But I already have a family, I advise you not to have any extravagant thoughts." Yi Qinghan's face was flushed by what he said, and she spat, "Young Master Yang, what did you say?" She couldn't laugh or cry for a while, she had never seen such a shameless person who praised herself. "Ah, isn't that the case?" Yang Kai looked embarrassed, and laughed twice. Said, "Just kidding, don't care." While speaking, he reached out to pick up a spiritual fruit on the table, put it in his mouth and ate it, and it tasted pretty good. He nodded again and said, "Tell me, what kind of pill do you want me to make?" "What?" Yi Qinghan was confused by his question, with a dazed expression on his face. Yang Kai sneered and said, "You have been following me since you recognized me, and you are so attentive and thoughtful, and you are so exquisite, you almost didn't agree with yourself. Didn't you ask me to do something?" "Yes." Yi Qinghan nodded slightly. "Don't you want me to make alchemy?" Yi Qinghan suddenly realized, and said with a smile, "Young Master Yang's alchemy skills are superb, even such an extinct panacea as Tai Miao Dan can be successfully refined, and the attainments and talents above this way are naturally very human. Although it's flattering, but it's comfortable to shoot." Yang Kai chuckled. Yi Qinghan said, "But I'm looking for young Master Yang. I don't want you to make alchemy. What are you going to do?" Yang Kai frowned, and now he was really vigilant. Yi Qinghan explained, "Although my Cheni sect is not a big sect, there is still a source-level alchemist in the sect, so there is no need to bother Yang Xiao about alchemy. I am looking for Yang Xiao to invite you fix something." "Repair something?" Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. "What?" Yi Qinghan pursed her red lips, and looked around again, seeming very vigilant. After hesitating for a long time, he said, "Space Law Circle." "Space Magic Circle?" Yang Kai narrowed his eyes, and said with a smile, "It seems that I have a space magic power, and many people know about it. He is in the land of the Four Seasons. He had used space power in front of so many people, so naturally he couldn't hide it." Yang Kai had already expected this, but he didn't expect Yi Qinghan to find her because of this. She obviously wanted to use her own space power to repair the space magic circle. Yi Qinghan said. The concubine also heard what others said. Yang Kai Dao, if it's just to repair the space array, you may not need to use me, right? Those array masters can do it too. Yi Qinghan smiled wryly and said, if it is an ordinary space magic circle, those formation masters can naturally repair it. But my Chenyi sect also found several formation masters, and even invited people from the Gong family. But still beyond repair. The Gong family can't repair it. Yang Kai was shocked when he heard this, as if he had thought of something. He said in a low voice, could it be the space magic circle of the two worlds? Yi Qinghan's beautiful eyes lit up. She nodded and said, sure enough, young Master Yang's gaze is like a torch, and it's the space magic circle of the two realms. Yang Kai's expression moved slightly. He squinted at Yi Qinghan, and asked, do you have a secret realm in Chenyi sect? Yi Qinghan smiled wryly. I knew I couldn't hide it from young Master Yang. Yes, my Chenyi sect does have a secret realm, which was originally a place where disciples entered to practice. I don't know that the secret realm was born in the cracks in that space. Where to wander, there is no other way except to use the space magic circle to enter. But more than 2,000 years ago, the space magic circle inexplicably failed, and since then, we can no longer enter it. Quote. The secret realm is very important to your Chenyi sect? Yang Kai asked. Yi Qinghan nodded. Although my Chenyi sect was not comparable to the top sects like Qingyang Temple and Tianwu Holy Land more than 2,000 years ago, it was considered a first-line power. Unfortunately, since the entrance to the secret realm was closed, it has been declining year after year. To this day it is. At this point, she was a little bit speechless. Yang Kai sneered. If the sect doesn't work hard, it's nothing to do with the secret realm. Not every sect in this world has its own secret realm. If you really work hard, it doesn't matter whether you have a secret realm or not. Yi Qinghan's pretty face turned pale, and she said in a shy voice, young Master Yang said so. It's just that when the entrance to the secret realm was closed more than 2,000 years ago, that suzerain brought in many inheritances in the sect, and even me 1,000 years ago. Yi Zong's Junzong's treasure. Without those inheritances, many of my Chenyi Zong's supernatural powers cannot be cultivated. The most important thing is that my Chenyi Zong's spirit gathering array was originally arranged with that secret realm as the source. The entrance after one pass, the aura within the sect will be. I understand. Yang Kai already understood what Yi Qinghan meant when he heard this. Losing many inheritances of supernatural powers and even the treasures of the sect is fine. The key is that there is no supply of spiritual energy. What warriors need most for cultivation is spiritual energy. Once the spiritual energy is thin, the strength of Chenyi Zong's disciples will naturally be inferior to the previous generation. Yi Qinghan bit her red lips, and said in a deep voice, I would like to ask young Master Yang to accompany me to Chenyi Zong to restore the two-dimensional space array at the entrance of the secret realm. If young Master agrees, I will be with Chenyi Zong. I must be very grateful, and there are also great gifts. This, that, Yang Kai's eyes rolled around, and he thought about it for a while, but he couldn't think of any excuses, so he could only say, I know the matter, but I am very busy, so well, you go back first, and when I am free someday, I will go to your Chenyi sect, and I will definitely not disappoint you. Yi Qinghan couldn't see that he was just perfunctory himself. If he really listened to him and left like this, he might not see Yang Kai until he turned white. So he could only plead bitterly, young Master Yang. The people in the world can only those who are proficient in the power of space can repair the space magic circle in this sect, but the power of space is too mysterious and complicated, and it is impossible for ordinary people to even get started. But I heard that there is an adult who is proficient in this way on Spirit Beast Island in the eastern region, but that lord is a powerhouse at the third level of the Emperor. How can my mere Chenyi sect invite me? What do you mean by this? Is that you can move at the second level of Daoyuan in this small area? Yang Kai glanced at her. Yi Qinghan quickly waved her hand and said, I don't mean that by being a concubine, don't blame young Master Yang. Yang Kai nodded and said, I have heard about the person you mentioned, Spirit Beast Island. Mo Shaoqi seems to belong to Spirit Beast Island, although she has never admitted it personally, but with Yang Kai's understanding of all aspects of the star world, coupled with Dianfeng's terrifying cultivation strength, she gradually guessed that Mo Shaoqi's background is not too difficult. Only people from Spirit Beast Island can command so many monsters to fight for themselves. Thinking of Mo Shaoqi, Yang Kai didn't know how this girl was doing now. He didn't come to Star Realm for a long time, and he didn't know many people. One Kong Saran was transferred away by Ziwen Chamber of Commerce after being promoted to Daoyuan realm level, and one Mo Shaoqi was arrested by Dianfeng. Seeing that Yang Kai was wandering away, and there was no movement for a long time, Yi Qinghan gritted his teeth and said, "Actually, the reason why I came to find young Master Yang was also because of the recommendation of others. Which bastard is so immoral? Tell me, I promise not to kill him." Yang Kai suddenly became angry. Yi Qinghan pursed her lips and smiled. "Gong Wenshan, young Master Yang should know him, right? It's this kid." Yang Kai's eyes popped. "Do you recognize him?" Gong Wenshan is naturally a rising star of the Gong family in Hegu that day. The Gong family is a master of formations, and Gong Wenshan is also a master of formations. In the Land of Four Seasons, he borrowed the power of the seal of the Temple of Time to block impermanence, which made the young handsome man of Tianwu Holy Land miss a great opportunity. This kid looks silly, but in fact, he is full of evil spirits. Yang Kai never thought that it was Gong Wenshan and Yi Qinghan who recommended him. Yi Qinghan replied, "A few years ago, I invited him to Chenyizong to repair the space magic circle, but failed. Senior brother Gong said that if you want to repair that magic circle, you must find someone who is proficient in space power. Man, 3 months ago, I received a letter from him, asking me to come to young Master Yang. I thought I would go to Qingyang Temple to try my luck after the matter here was settled, but I didn't expect that we met here by chance. Young Master Yang, do you think this is fate?" She had a joyful look on her face, just like the girl in Weichun. Yang Kai snorted. "There is a fate between men and women, do you want to have a fate with me?" Yi Qinghan was sweating profusely, and said embarrassingly, "Young Master Yang is just joking, I'm afraid I don't have this blessing as a concubine. I've only met that kid Gong Wenshan once, and I'm not familiar with him. I'm responsible for what he says, and it's none of my business." Yi Qinghan sighed deeply, and said quietly, "Young Master Yang really won't help." She bit her thin lips lightly. She was so pitiful, and she looked pitiful to me. To be continued. Chapter 2281. The young man has good muscles. Phone reading. It's not that I don't want to help, it's just that there are too many things to do. Wu Shiklone, didn't I tell you to go when I have time? Yang Kai explained. Yi Qinghan pondered for a while, and then gritted his teeth and said, "Young Master Yang, to tell you the truth, there is a Jedi in the secret realm of my Chenny sect, called Emperor Tiangu. If you can practice in it for a while, it will be of great help to your promotion to the throne in the future. Huge help." Yang Kai looked at her with a smile on his face. That smile was meaningful. Yi Qinghan blushed pretty, and said, "I can't believe young Master Yang, but this matter is so important that I dare not disclose it at will, otherwise it will attract the coveted eyes of countless Daoyuan warriors. My Chenyizong is not strong now. Strong, unable to resist at all." Yang Kai said hesitantly, "The name Emperor Tiangu is good and very imposing, but, what's the matter?" Yi Qinghan stomped her feet and said, "If young Master Yang can really repair the space magic circle and bring the secret realm back to Chenyizong, I can decide to let young Master Yang enter it." "Your identity in Chenny sect?" Yang Kai squinted at her. Yi Qinghan said, "I am the daughter of the Chenny sect master. The current Chenny sect master Yi Hen is my father." It turned out to be the young sect master. Yang Kai cupped his fists. "It's really disrespectful." A blush appeared on Yi Qinghan's face and said, "Young Master Yang is making fun of me as a concubine. Let alone the young master of Chenny sect, the young master of Feixiang Palace was beaten into a pig's head in front of Yang Kai, so Yi Qinghan didn't feel that her identity was special at all. In the beginning, there was no intention to explain to Yang Kai. But it's okay not to say it now, otherwise it is impossible to win the trust of Yang Kai. "Young Master Yang, I beg you." Yi Qinghan's tone was sincere, with a sad expression on his face. "My father is old, if he can't break through to the throne, he will die in a few years, but how can he be promoted to the throne? It's that simple, and Emperor Tiangu is the greatest opportunity he can get, and also the most hopeful one. Young Master Yang, if you can help me Chenyizong this time, I can agree to any request." As she spoke, Yang Kai looked sideways at her aggressive attitude. Yang Kai became silent. Yi Qinghan didn't dare to take a breath. She stood there waiting with her red lips pursed, her heart fluttered and uneasy. In the quiet wing room, there was a fierce heartbeat in the atrium. For a long time, Yang Kai sighed and said, "Forget it, I think of your filial piety, so I will go with you." "Really?" Yi Qinghan cried with joy, looking at Yang Kai in disbelief. But not now. You also know that there are still some matters here in Fenggulan City. We will leave after the matters here are settled. No hurry, no hurry. Yi Qinghan waved her hands quickly. Anyway, I have been waiting for so many years, so there is no rush for this moment. But it's the first thing to say. Yang Kai looked at her seriously. Said, I can only promise to try it, but I can't guarantee that the space magic circle will be repaired. Young Master Yang's words are enough. Go find a place to rest by yourself, I will notify you if you want to leave. Yang Kai waved his hand. Yi Qinghan said, that concubine is waiting for Yang Xiao's good news. After she finished speaking, she bowed her head and returned the money, and before leaving, she did not forget to close the door thoughtfully. After she leaves, Yang Kai sat down with a sigh, and said to himself, it's troublesome again. He and Yi Qinghan are neither related nor related, and have nothing to do with Chen Yizong, so naturally he doesn't want to go into this muddy water. But Yi Qinghan is really annoying enough. Yang Kai felt that if he didn't agree with her, she will probably chase her to the ends of the earth, and it will only be more troublesome then. If it was really like this, a young woman would follow her back all day, looking at her sadly, so that people who didn't know the inside story would think that she had abandoned her from beginning to end. What a shame. However, the so-called Emperor Tiangu that Yi Qinghan said made Yang Kai a little interested. Since it allows warriors to get help when they break through to the throne, it must have something to do with understanding the way of heaven and martial arts. Although Yang Kai only has 2 levels of Daoyuan Y, but it is not harmful to one's own growth to realize more about the ways of heaven and martial arts. With the help of Tai Miao Dan, it will be a matter of course for him to be promoted to Emperor Zun in the future. Without words for a while, Yang Kai meditated in the room until midnight. He has just been promoted to the 2nd level of Daoyuan, so he naturally needs to consolidate it. As the night was dark, Yang Kai pushed the door and came out, his body shaking, but he came to the city lord's mansion in just a dozen breaths of time. The guards outside the gate of the city lord's mansion are like fakes to him. But at the moment of entering the city lord's mansion, Yang Kai's skin suddenly turned cold, and he only felt several powerful divine senses sweeping over his body, before disappearing in a flash. Although it was only for a very short time, it still made him tremble and break out in a cold sweat. Those few divine senses are all owned by genuine Emperor Senior Realm powerhouses. Obviously Xiao Yuyang and others live in the city lord's mansion. A few of the divine thoughts just checked him and then took them back, but there was one that kept pulling him away as if nothing had happened. Yang Kai sniffed and walked in the direction that the divine sense came from. After a while, he came to a side room. He raised his hand, and before he had time to knock on the door, he heard Gao Shueting's voice from inside, "Come in." Yang Kai heard the sound, pushed the door and entered. Seeing Gao Shueting sitting cross-legged on the bed, her beautiful eyes looked at herself brightly. Yang Kai grinned and said, "The boy has met Elder Gao, but he didn't expect that after saying goodbye that day, he would be here again in Fenggulan City." What are you doing, Elder Gao?" Before he finished speaking, he saw Gao Shueting waved his hand. The door of the room was suddenly closed under the ups and downs of the source force, and then an invisible barrier opened up in the whole room, covering the wing room and isolating the inside and outside. "Isn't it too cautious? Is this going to open the enchantment?" A dissatisfied voice sounded in another room. Xiao Yuyang opened his eyes, and muttered playfully, "What is Gao girl going to do? I thought see what is so magical about that kid, it's a mess now." At the same time, in the room where the emperors lived, everyone kept curling their lips. It was obvious that they had been spying on Gao Shueting's room before, but they were blocked by the barrier. For a while, the wing room was completely isolated. Gudong. Yang Kai swallowed his saliva, somehow a bad feeling spread in his heart. "Take off your clothes." Gao Shueting looked at Yang Kai expressionlessly and ordered. Yang Kai's complexion changed drastically, and he said in a surprised voice, This, isn't it appropriate?" "What are you talking about?" Gao Shueting snorted coldly. Seeing Yang Kai moaning, she immediately became impatient, and she didn't see any movement from her, but she suddenly came to Yang Kai, then stretched out her hand, and directly grabbed him. "Come over." Yang Kai only felt that slender jade hand suddenly turned into a 5-fingered mountain and enveloped him, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of inevitability. Immediately afterwards, with a tight neck, Gao Shueting lifted her up. The next moment, Yang Kai's whole body was spun around under the action of an external force, and with the rotation, the clothes on his body quickly fell off and flew out. In the blink of an eye, only his underwear was left behind. Elder Gao, stop it! Yang Kai screamed. Gao Shueding turned a deaf ear to it, stretched out her hand to frighten Yang Kai, and made Yang Kai stop, then pinched the orchid finger, pointed out like the wind, suddenly tapped a few points on Yang Kai's body, and at the same time, her beautiful eyes were shining, staring at Yang Kai's physical changes. Her beautiful eyes swept across Yang Kai's body in a distinct manner, and almost looked at him from top to bottom. After a while, she nodded slightly and said, "Very well, there is no major problem." When the words fell, Yang Kai suddenly felt that the power that bound him had disappeared. He scrambled and scrambled for a while, and hurried to Gao Shueding's bed, wrapped the quilt around his body, shivering, and looked like he had been greatly traumatized. Gao Shueding sneered, still shy. Yang Kai's face was pale, and the corners of his mouth twitched. "Elder Gao, what are you doing?" It was only then that he understood why Gao Shueding wanted to set up a barrier. If this scene were to be watched by others, they might not be able to wash it away with all the water in the 3 rivers and 5 lakes. Gao Shueding said seriously, "Your cultivation is progressing too fast. Not long ago, it was at the first level of Daoyuan, but now it is at the second level. I just check if there are any hidden dangers. What do you think I am going to do?" Quote. Speaking later, Gao Shueding's eyes flickered with a cold light, making Yang Kai shudder. "If you want to check, you don't have to do this." Yang Kai cried. "If that's the only way, then of course it doesn't need to be like this. But I heard that a magic weapon spirit was born today and chased after you. I need to make sure that you are not corrupted by the magic energy. Anyway, I'm not young, and I'm not a child. I'm old enough to be your grandma, so what's the point of seeing your body?" Speaking of this, Gao Shueding raised the corner of her mouth and sneered, "The young man has good muscles, and he looks like a good body." Elder Gao's absurd praise. Yang Kai wiped the cold sweat on his forehead, and said awkwardly, "What happened?" "The result is not bad," Gao Shueding said, stretched out her hand to grab a few times, grabbed all of Yang Kai's clothes, and then threw them to him, saying, "Although the promotion speed is very fast, there are no weak foundations. There are no signs of being corroded by demonic energy." Yang Kai timidly said, "What if it is eroded by the demonic energy?" "Then you are a dead person now." Gao Shueding's phoenix eyes turned cold, she looked at him and said, "Why, what do you have to say to me?" "No, no, no, no. Absolutely not." Yang Kai quickly waved his hand, making up his mind, no matter what, Gao Shueding couldn't let Gao Shueding know that the magic thought was sealed in her body, and even the demon Dao warrior was in her hands. "The kid is weird, is there something you are hiding from me?" Gao Shueding's voice turned cold. Yang Kai smiled bitterly. "What's wrong?" Elder Gao misunderstood. Gao Shueding stared deeply at Yang Kai, and after a while, she said, "This is the best, if I let Ben Gong know what you have to hide, I must make you look good." Yang Kai didn't dare to say anything, he just put on his clothes under the quilt. To be continued. Chapter 2282 Worm Out. Not long after, Yang Kai had already put on his clothes. "How long do you want to occupy Ben Gong's bed?" Gao Shueding looked at him coldly. Only then did Yang Kai hang his head down, helplessly climbed down from the bed, and stood in front of Gao Shueding. "Let me ask you, where did the magic weapon spirit go?" Gao Shueding said suddenly, "It is said that the weapon spirit is chasing you, but today I searched all the way with Master Shao and others, and traced it to Yuqing Mountain. But when it lost its trace, it seemed to disappear all of a sudden, even Mr. Shao couldn't see the slightest clue. Do you know where it went?" Yang Kai shook his head quickly, expressing that he didn't know. "Then how did you escape safely?" Gao Shueding frowned. Yang Kai smiled, and said, "Elder Gao also knows that the boy has cultivated space power, and I am the best at escaping. At that time, I ran to Yuqing Mountain, used the secret technique of breath suppression, and quietly hid in the void. The spirit of the weapon after chasing him, after searching for nothing, he left on his own. As for where he went, I don't know." Gao Shueding stared at him deeply, bright light shone in her beautiful eyes, as if she wanted to look into the depths of Yang Kai's heart, making Yang Kai feel guilty for a while, lest she would see any flaws. After a while, Gao Shueding nodded and said, "If I let Ben Gong know that you have something to hide and don't report it, I will definitely not be able to get around you." Yang Kai wiped the cold sweat off his brow and said, "How dare you? I'm sorry you don't have the guts." When Gao Shueding spoke, she sat on the edge of the bed, sighed softly and said, "But if it is true, the people in this palace are negligent. If we do some investigation, maybe there won't be any trouble this time. She sighed, with a remorseful expression on her face. Said Yang Kai is extremely guilty. If Gao Shueding knows that the demon who fought her that day is standing in front of her at this moment, she doesn't know what will happen. Yang Kai quickly changed the topic and said, everything has a number of days, so Elder Gao doesn't have to think about it. Gao Shueding glanced at him, snorted coldly, then stretched out her hand, and a ray of light shot towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai was slightly startled, but he didn't evade, because he found that Gao Shueding didn't have any intention of attacking. He reached forward and grabbed the light in his hand. Opening up the palm of his hand, he found that it was actually a token. It is about the size of a palm, and it is made of unknown material. The back is engraved with the image of a warrior's back. The back is tall and magnificent, as if standing in the sky, looking down on the world. Although it is just a pattern, it can still make people feel full of power momentum. The corners of Yang Kai's mouth twitched unceasingly, because he found that the back of the figure's pattern seemed to touch Wen Zishan. But on the front, there are two large characters carved in seal. Qingyang. The entire token presents the color of red gold, golden light, and extremely dazzling. This is. Yang Kai's complexion changed slightly, and he looked at Gao Shueding suspiciously. The identity plate of the disciple of the temple. Gao Shueding replied lightly. Yang Kai was surprised, and immediately smiled wryly. But Elder Gao, the boy is not a disciple of the temple, isn't it appropriate to take this nameplate? From now on, you are it. Gao Shueding replied. Yang Kai was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said, Elder Gao is buying and selling by force. Do you want to ask for my opinion? Gao Shueding squinted at him and said, didn't I consult you last time? Haven't you thought it through after so long? Yang Kai hurriedly said, I have to think about it more, this matter is too complicated, I can't think it through for a while, please Elder Gao be more flexible. How long? 30 or 50 years is the best. After Yang Kai finished speaking, he saw Gao Shueding's face turn frosty, and said hurriedly, of course, 10 years and 8 years or so. Hee. Gao Shueding suddenly sneered. Yang Kai shivered involuntarily, his whole body was icy cold, and the soles of his feet were about to cramp. Gao Shueding said leisurely, it seems that Bengong's good temper gave you a wrong feeling. Do you think that Bengong is easy to talk, or that he has no dignity? Never mind, then you look down on this palace, look down on the temple. Nor. Gao Shueding snorted coldly. Today, I have already said in front of Master Shao and others that you are a disciple of my temple, and I have rejected Lu Qi's intention to win you over. If you dare to reject me again, the Japanese palace will tell them tomorrow. You have been expelled from the temple by me, do you know what the consequences will be? Yang Kai broke out in a cold sweat. He really doesn't know that Lu Kai wants to win him over. If he thinks this way, he has been too aggressive recently, and he may have attracted the attention of many people. If he does not have the halo of disciples of Qingyang Temple, he will definitely be scrambled by other strong men. Yang Kai suddenly understood that Gao Shueding gave herself this identity plate, not to force herself to make a choice, but a means to protect herself. She checked her physical condition carefully before, apparently because she was worried that something might go wrong in her cultivation. Thinking of this, a warm feeling came to my heart. Yang Kai suddenly felt that with the care of such elders, joining Qingyang Temple seemed to be a good choice. He breathed a sigh of relief, put his fists together and smiled and said, the disciple is respectful and obedient, thank you for the elder's kindness. Gao Shueding glanced at him up and down, nodded and said, a child can be taught. After a pause, she continued, however, because of your special situation, you don't need to abide by many rules of the temple. How did you live before? How do you live in the future? The temple will not interfere with you, do you understand? Understood. Yang Kai was overjoyed when he heard this. Of course, how you behave in the future is only related to yourself, and cannot represent the temple. If you dare to cause any trouble for the temple, HMPH, you understand. Gao Shueding's phoenix eyes were full of power, and she snorted coldly. Understood, I understand. Yang Kai couldn't help nodding his head, his face full of cold sweat. I don't have anything else to say. Since you have taken the nameplate, you can also be regarded as a disciple of the temple. If you have any problems or puzzles in cultivation, I have free time now, so I can answer them for you. Gao Shueding changed her expression and asked in a pleasant manner. Yang Kai straightened his expression, and quickly asked some questions he encountered during his cultivation. Gao Shueding is also extremely responsible, explaining to him in detail, and also telling all about her experience in cultivation and understanding of the Tao of Heaven and martial arts. Gao Shueding originally thought that it would be an easy task to guide a martial artist at the second level of Daoyuan to practice. But following the in-depth conversation with Yang Kai, she had to put away that freehand demeanor, because the questions Yang Kai asked were actually some extremely critical and profound things, some of which she didn't even figure out thoroughly, and gradually, this kind of consultation turned into two people discussing improving their own martial arts. It wasn't until dawn that Yang Kai left the city lord's mansion. After returning to the Qin family, he immediately found a secret room with Qin Chaoyang and began to practice in seclusion. The time is long, and it is more than a month in a flash. On this day, Yang Kai went out, and the cultivation base of the Daoyuan two-layer realm that had just been promoted had been completely stabilized. In the secret room, he checked his own state and was extremely satisfied with the progress during this period. At this moment, he suddenly seemed to have noticed something, and his face became strange. The next moment, he quickly sacrificed the slave worm bracelet, and the soul the spirit body escaped, and flashed into the slave worm bracelet to check. When he was still in the Qingyang temple, Yang Kai asked Gao Shueding to ask for a lot of Wushang Xuansao to feed those soul-eating insects, and since this time, the soul-eating insects have been devouring themselves in that huge urn, multiplying and evolving. Until today, it seems that there have been some substantial breakthroughs. The soul-eating insect is ranked 11th in the strange insect list, ranking very high, and it has also played a huge role in the world of the Immortal Travel Mirror. After the experience of the Immortal Travel Mirror, Yang Kai also placed great hopes on the soul-eating insect. As soon as he noticed that they were moving today, Yang Kai couldn't wait to check it out. It was very quiet in the big urn. It seemed that all the soul-eating insects were sleeping, but after Yang Kai refined the slave worm bracelet, he knew everything in the space inside the slave worm bracelet, so he naturally knew that this tranquility was just an illusion. He waited for a moment with a solemn expression, and finally, as if he had made up his mind, he stretched out his hand and made a gesture to open the big urn. Looking inside, Yang Kai immediately saw that the inside of the urn was densely packed, showing a milky white color, like a cocoon-like existence, covering the entire urn wall. Many white cocoons have cracked, and evolved soul-eating insects continue to crawl out from inside, and then drop the white cocoons whole. As time passed, more and more soul-eaters were born from the cocoon. For a moment, there was a crackling sound in the entire urn, as if thousands of silkworms were eating mulberry. It's so big, Yang Kai was taken aback. The original soul-eating worms could not be observed with the naked eye at all. They were extremely small insects, and only the spiritual sense could find their traces. However, after this evolution of phagocytosis, the size of the soul-eating worms became significantly larger. Each of them was the size of a grain of rice, and their bodies were covered with some pitch-black lines. In the black lines, there was an obvious demonic aura, which was obviously due to the ancient pure demonic energy that had been swallowed before. Not only that, but these soul-eating insects seemed to be more ferocious than before, making Yang Kai's scalp tingle when he saw it. In less than a quarter of an hour, these soul-eating insects all broke out of their cocoons, devoured their own white cocoons, and after receiving sufficient nutrition, these soul-eating insects flapped their wings and flew out of the urn. Yang Kai stepped back vigilantly, watching from a distance. All of a sudden, a cloud of insects gathered above the big urn. Although the number was much smaller than the original soul-eating insects, the momentum and scale were far from comparable to the previous batch. Yang Kai was secretly startled, thinking that if he had brought such a group of soul-eating worms into the immortal travel world, he would not have needed him to steal and play tricks when he encountered Ban Qing's Emperor Senior Realm. Ban Qing fled in embarrassment. He waited and watched for a long time, then with a thought, he gave an order to Soul Eater Changyan. R1152. Chapter 2283 Spirit Lake Palace. The flying soul-devouring insect clouds all rushed towards him at once, and the buzzing sound was endless. Yang Kai stood in place with a serious expression, his face condensed and alert, ready to shoot at any time. After a while, he was surrounded by the cloud of worms, and immediately after, a soul-eating worm landed on him, fluttered its wings and remained still, crawling there quietly, and another. A large cloud of insects fell, wrapping him in 3 layers and covering him completely obscuring his figure. But all the soul-eating insects were quiet and had no intention of attacking Yang Kai. Instead, under an invisible connection, these soul-eating insects obeyed Yang Kai's words. Ha 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 ha, Yang Kai couldn't help laughing out loud, feeling that the slave worm bracelet was really a good treasure. When he was in the immortal traveling mirror world, Yang Kai felt that his batch of soul-eating insects were no longer under control, and the other batch of soul-eating insects he got from Tianyan after that had nothing to do with him. Contact. But now, the evolved soul-eating worm obediently obeyed his orders, ruthless, and the greatest credit should naturally go to the slave worm bracelet. This emperor treasure has no ability to attack and defend, but it restrains all the strange insects in the world. It is the painstaking effort of the Emperor Chang all his life, and it really has a miraculous effect on dealing with soul-eating insects. In this way, Yang Kai no longer has to worry about the future, and when he encounters a strong enemy in the future, the Soul Eater can also become a means of fighting against the enemy. After experimenting, Yang Kai was very satisfied, and with a slight movement of his mind, he let those soul-eating insects return to the big urn to recuperate. The space inside the slave insect bracelet seems to have some subtle effects on the survival of the strange insects. The strange insects staying here will not die and weaken, but will become stronger and stronger. Of course, if he wanted the soul-devouring insects to grow faster, Yang Kai would need to find more faceless profound grass to feed them. Faceless profound grass is not a rare spiritual herb, many major sects can cultivate it by itself, so it is not difficult to find it, but Yang Kai needs a huge amount, which must be a huge expense. Change to before, Yang Kai may not be able to afford it yet, but now that he has a source crystal mine to start with, he doesn't need to worry about source crystals in a short period of time, so he can naturally purchase them in large quantities. So far, Yang Kai quickly escaped from the slave insect bracelet, opened his eyes and stood up, opened the secret room, ready to go to the city to buy some faceless profound grass. Pushing the door open, Yang Kai immediately felt the aura of heaven and earth around him that was different from the past. It seems that during the period of his retreat and cultivation, the spiritual energy density of Fenggalan City has increased a lot. This surprised him, because that day Lu Kai used the Emperor Treasure Liangyilu, turned it into a seal, and suppressed the Linggu Lake. Logically speaking, with the passage of time, the world on the Fenggalan City side the aura will become thinner, and gradually become the same as before. But after so many days, the aura has not diminished. On the contrary, there are signs of increase, which makes Yang Kai puzzled. At this moment, a beautiful figure shot from not far away, manifested in front of him. It was Yi Qinghan. "Young Master Yang, you are out of customs." Yi Qinghan looked Yang Kai up and down, and found that his breath was calm and his spirit was restrained, and he couldn't help but enviously said, "Young Master Yang seems to have gained a lot this time." So, Yang Kai grinned, having decided to follow Yi Qinghan to Chenyizong. He didn't repel her so much anymore, his expression moved, and Yang Kai asked in surprise, "You won't stay here all the time, right?" Yi Qinghan smiled coyly, "Anyway, I have nothing else to do around me." Yang Kai Dao, "Don't worry, since I have promised you. I will not run away, and I will follow you to Chenyizong. I don't intend to monitor young Master Yang." Yi Qinghan hurriedly waved his hands, and said in a flustered expression, "I just. She talked for a long time without giving a reason, and she couldn't help panicking. For fear of angering Yang Kai. Yang Kai smiled and said, "Forget it, accompany me to buy something, we will leave after buying." Yi Qinghan's expression brightened, she quickly nodded and said, Okay. Immediately, the two rushed towards the city. Walking along the road, Yang Kai found that the warriors in Fenggalan City were sparse and not as lively as before, but every warrior on the street had a beaming expression, as if they had hit a big luck, and couldn't help but feel strange. He opened the mouth and said, "These guys are all smiling like flowers, what good happened?" Yi Qinghan pursed her lips and said with a smile, "Maple Forest City is different now, the aura is more than 3 to 5 times stronger than before, so they are naturally happy. By the way, I was about to ask you about this." Yang Kai turned to look at her, "What's going on with this spiritual energy? Why has it become so rich?" Yi Qinghan said, "Young Master Yang has been in seclusion for a month, so naturally he doesn't know about the changes in Fenggalan City. The thing is like this. Several adults, headed by Lord Xiao from the Star God Palace, discussed the Kung Fu for a few days a month ago. Decided to transform the place where Linggu Lake is located into a holy place for cultivation, so they transferred manpower from their respective sects, and 10 days ago, all the renovation work there was completed, and now the place where Linggu Lake is located has been completed. It has become a well-known training place in the entire southern region, and countless warriors flocked to it, and many people in Fenggalan City went to watch the excitement, so the city was deserted. Hearing her explanation, Yang Kai finally understood why there were so many fewer people in Fenggalan City suddenly, and his feelings were all going to the Linggu Lake to watch the excitement. That place was named Linggu Palace by Xiao Yuyang and other adults. It covers a large area, and there are many secret rooms built inside for warriors to retreat and practice. Spirit Lake Palace. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. Yi Qinghan smiled and said, exactly. Yang Kai said thoughtfully, then this Linggu Palace, who is under the jurisdiction and who owns it? Yi Qinghan said, none of the major sects intend to occupy it. This Linggu Palace is headed by the Star God Palace. The major sects are managed together with Fenggalan City. It is open to the entire southern region. As long as there are enough source crystals, anyone can enter it to practice. Oh, Yang Kai was surprised. Maple Forest City also has management. Naturally, Linggu Palace is right next to Maplewood City, and it would be best if Maplewood City came forward to manage it. Now Maplewood City can be regarded as nothing but a blockbuster. Yang Kai chuckled. I can imagine Duan City Lord's joyful appearance. Yi Jinghan pursed her lips and said with a smile, indeed, although City Lord Duan's strength is still at the 3rd level of Daoyuan, his status has risen with the help of Linggu Palace. Sit on an even footing. The status is not low, the cultivation level is not enough, it is difficult to convince the public. Yang Kai frowned, a little worried for Duan Yuanshan. Yi Qinghan glanced at him, and said, young Master Yang, you don't have to worry about this. Master Xiao has already made the decision to accept City Master Duan and Deputy City Master Drunkard as disciples of the outer sect of Xingshan Palace. In addition, these two city lords he also hung up some idle jobs under many top forces such as Qingyang Temple and Tianwu Holy Land. Yang Kai listened blankly. Is this okay? Yi Qinghan covered her red lips with her hands, and said with a coquettish smile, I'm afraid it was helpless. My lords really have a good opinion. Yang Kai shook his head and smiled bitterly, although I have never heard of this matter, but in this way, no one dares to underestimate Duan City Lord and Julao, and dare not disobey their jurisdiction. Duan Yuanshan and Julao today, although their cultivation bases are not too high, but they are backed by several big trees of several top sects in the entire southern region, so it is no longer a problem to manage Fenggalan City and Linggu Palace. Anyone who dares to disobey the order is tantamount to making an enemy of all the top forces in the entire southern territory. Who would dare to act like this? However, Lord Xiao is so brave, Star God Palace is worthy of being the overlord of the southern region, and its bearing is extraordinary. Yang Kai said sincerely. To be honest, if Xingshan Palace intends to occupy Linggu Palace, no one would dare to resist. After all, with Emperor Mingyu sitting in Xingshan Palace, other top powers simply cannot compete with it. However, the Star God Palace did not do this. Instead, it took the lead and led many forces to build the Star God Palace into a holy place for cultivation that is open to the entire southern region. This shows the generosity and magnanimity of this overlord sect. Not every sect can do this. Even for Qingyang Temple Wen Zishan, if such a holy place for cultivation fell into his hands, Yang Kai estimated that he would secretly hide it as a training place for the disciples of Qingyang Temple. There are always differences between people who are close or distant. This is human nature, and no one will think for others for no reason. Continue talking. Yang Kai motioned. Linggu Palace imitated the Star God Palace's division of cultivation holy land levels, and is also divided into 3 grades of heaven, earth and people. Among them, the human-level cultivation holy land is open to warriors below the void returning mirror, while the earth level is open to Daoyuan and Dao. Warriors below the source realm are open, and as for the top celestial level, it is only open to those who are strong in the emperor realm. Speaking of this, Yi Qinghan had a look of yearning on his face, as if he was yearning for the supreme and infinite warrior. In the upper emperor realm, the higher the grade, the more source crystals you need to pay to enter it for cultivation. It is said that you need to pay 1,000 high-grade source crystals for a day and a night in the top heaven-level cultivation place, and, as long as it is allowed to pay high-grade source crystals, but it is not allowed to be converted into a corresponding amount of middle-grade or low-grade source crystals. This price is really scary. Yang Kai had a sad expression on his face. 1,000 high-grade source crystals is equivalent to 100,000 middle-grade source crystals, and 10 million low-grade source crystals. This is just a day and a night of dedication, but when a martial artist cultivates, does he not retreat for 10 days and a half months? If you want to comprehend the secret technique, it will take a year or so. Especially those who are strong in the Emperor Senior realm are retreating, and they may retreat for several years or more. The source crystals that need to be paid cannot be calculated. Moreover, it is also limited that only top-grade source crystals are allowed to be paid, and the conditions are extremely harsh. However, most of the Emperor Senior realm powerhouses are rich. If they really want to advance to a higher level in martial arts, they may not care about these external things. Yang Kai said thoughtfully. To be continued. XH 118. Chapter 2284 Revisiting the Spirit Pill Workshop. Phone reading. That's right, the Heavenly Cultivation Holy Land of Lingu Palace is really comparable to the Heavenly Cultivation Holy Land of the Star God Palace, which Emperor Prestige Realm doesn't want to experience it. If you can really make a breakthrough, no matter how much you pay, it will be worth it. Web links is small. Oh, Yi Qinghen deeply agreed, and continued, it's not a day there are not many training chambers, only 30. These 30 secret rooms. I'm afraid those adults are about to rob them. Yang Kai snorted. 30 rooms may seem like a lot, but they are actually impossible to use. Although Emperor Senior realm powerhouses are not very common, looking at the entire southern territory, there are 800 if not 1,000. Except for the Emperor Senior realm powerhouses in the Star God Palace who probably have no interest in that day-level secret room, which other Emperor Senior realm would not want to retreat in it. Cultivation, comprehension of profound arts. As soon as the news spread, how could 30 rooms be enough? That's a matter for the grown-ups, not for the concubines and other little ones to consider. Yi Qinghen pursed her lips and smiled coquettishly. After getting Yang Kai's promise, she seemed to be in a good mood all the time. How many Earth-level secret rooms are there? What about human-level secret rooms? Yang Kai asked again. There seem to be 500 at the prefectural level, and 3,000 at the human level. Yang Kai nodded when he heard this. Although this number still sounds very small, it feels like it's not enough to make ends meet, but not everyone has the financial resources to enter the secret room of Lingu Palace to practice, and those warriors who can't afford the cultivation expenses can only sigh. However, there are 3 levels of secret rooms in this world, and the income of Fenggalan City may make people envious to the point of shame. This income will definitely be divided among the top sects, and Fenggalan City may follow suit. So much so, Duan Yuenshan and the others might become rich overnight. It is said. Yi Qinghen's voice suddenly dropped, appearing mysterious. Of course. It's just that there are some extra secret rooms for all sects in Lingu Palace, which are not open to the public. Disciples of all major sects can enter it for free, and they can practice for as long as they want. Oh, Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. Is there anything else like this? Yi Qinghen said. The source of the news is uncertain, but it is quite reliable. After all, this Lingu Palace was created by various sects, so it is only natural to keep some for yourself. This is understandable. Yang Kai nodded slightly. Now he can be regarded as a disciple of Qingyang Temple, and he has a disciple identity plate in his hand. If the news is true, then he should be able to enter the secret room to practice with that identity plate without paying anything. In addition, the major forces have also arranged formations to guide the aura that escaped from Lingu Palace into Fenggalan City, so the aura density in Fenggalan City is now much higher than before. What's the matter? I just said that something feels wrong. Yang Kai suddenly realized why the aura of the world in Fenggalan City did not decrease but increased. It turned out that there was a formation that guided the aura of Lingu Palace. In this way, Fenggalan City is quite suitable for warriors to practice. Although it cannot be compared with Lingu Palace, it is a boon for warriors living in Fenggalan City. In 2 years, Maplewood City will definitely become one of the big cities in the southern region. I heard that the 2 major chambers of commerce will set up branches here. Yang Kai smiled and said, there is a place to make money. How can there be no figures of the 2 major chambers of commerce? While talking, the 2 had arrived at the Spirit Pill Workshop. The dianfeng was still the same, with a small frontage, and there seemed to be few people shopping in the shop, only the waiter was there to greet him, and the shopkeeper was nowhere to be seen. Since comprehension was transferred away, Yang Kai hadn't been to the Spirit Pill Workshop before, and when he came back now, he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. When he came to Fenggalan City for the first time, he formed some connections with Spirit Pill Workshop. You are Master Yang. An exclamation suddenly reached Yang Kai's ears, waking him up from his memories. Yang Kai looked up, only to see the waiter looking at him excitedly. Little brother is doing well recently. Yang Kai greeted with a smile. When he was refining alchemy in the spirit pill workshop, he had come into contact with the waiter many times, so he was not unfamiliar, but he never knew his name. Okay. The waiter in the shop spoke incoherently, with a flattered look, Master Lao misses you. After finishing speaking, he ran in hastily, shouting while running, Master Yang is back, shopkeeper, Master Yang is back. What does he mean? Yi Qinghan looked at Yang Kai blankly, not knowing why the waiter in the shop was going crazy. Yang Kai Dao, I have been refining pills for several months in this spirit pill workshop before. I see. Go in. Yang Kai gestured, and he found that after the waiter in the store shouted, several customers who were shopping for spirit pills in the store all looked at him with strange eyes, greeted Yi Qinghan and went straight to him. Experts go. Walking through the lobby, before entering the inside, a fat man with big ears, oily face, and gorgeous clothes came to meet him. This fat man looked around 40, with a big belly and tall, very rich. This is obviously the new shopkeeper of the spirit pill workshop. Like the previous comprehension, he only has the 3rd level cultivation of the Void King. The fat man asked eagerly while wiping the sweat from his forehead, where is Master Yang? After saying that, when he raised his head, he saw Yang Kai, and quickly clasped his fists and said, Zhou Fu of Spirit Pill Workshop has seen Master Yang, and he is far away from welcoming him, so please forgive him. Yang Kai clasped his fists back and saluted, and said with a smile, it's Yang who came here uninvited, shopkeeper Zhou is being polite. The two had just said the last sentence, and 2 more guys rushed out from the back hall, shouting anxiously, who is Master Yang, and who is Master Yang? One of them looked around, his eyes instantly fixed on Yang Kai, and he shouted, you are Master Yang. Yang Kai glanced at him, and found that this person had disheveled hair, deep sunken eyes, and bloodshot eyes, as if he had been tired for a long time and hadn't rested. Not only this person was like this, but also the other person beside him, and from these 2 people, Yang Kai smelled a faint medicinal fragrance. Yang Kai immediately understood what they were doing, and smiled slightly at the moment, saying, the master dare not be, it is Yang. The 2 of them heard the words, their eyes suddenly revealed light, and they stared at Yang Kai with scorching eyes. They clasped their fists together and said, I have seen Master Yang. You 2 are welcome. Yang Kai smiled slightly, turned to Zhou Fu and said, shopkeeper, can we talk inside? He gestured around, and saw several customers who were shopping in the store, all staring at this side with a blank face, guessing who Yang Kai was, who was treated so grandly by the shopkeeper of Spirit Pill Workshop and others. Zhou Fu said awkwardly, it was Zhou who was negligent, Master Yang please. Master Yang, please. The 2 guys after that also hurriedly separated to the 2 sides, with a respectful look. Serve tea, serve the best tea. Zhou Fu kicked the waiter who was watching the bustle, and the waiter hurried away. Not long after, Yang Kai sat down in the secret room in the back hall. Yi Qinghan stood behind him like a bodyguard. Zhou Fu and others also stood beside him. Sit down too. Yang Kai stretched out his hand to signal. No, I'm not qualified to sit in front of Master Yang. I'll just stand. Zhou Fu waved his hands quickly. Yes and it's okay to kneel. Those 2 guys who didn't know what they were doing said one after another, which made Yi Qinghan laugh, wondering why Yang Kai had such a big face here. Yang Kai didn't force them, just said, is there any news from shopkeeper Kong recently? Zhou Fu looked serious, and said, the treasurer Kong sent me many times to ask about Master Yang's recent situation. Zhou is ashamed, and has not been able to see Master Yang's dignity, and he can't find any news when he asks someone. Fortunately, the previous paragraph the news of the land of the 4 seasons of time came out, so Zhou had an explanation. Zhou Fu smiled wryly as he spoke. Yang Kai Dao, the treasurer Kong has a heart, how is he now? Zhou Fu said, the shopkeeper Kong is very good, and I heard that he will return to Fenggalan City after a while. Yang Kai's expression changed, and he said, because of the branch. Zhou Fu Dao, Master Yang is really well informed. It is precisely because of the branch that the Ziwen Chamber of Commerce decided to set up a branch in Fenggalan City. Shopkeeper Kong has been operating here for many years and has a wide network of contacts. With him sitting here, various matters can also be handled. It's progressing smoothly. Yang Kai smiled and said, Brother Kong, this is the end of all hardships. The previous Fenggalan City was not on the stage, So Kong Saran was transferred away after being promoted to Daoyuanjing, but today's Fenggalan city has the background and qualifications to evolve into a big city in just a few years. Ziwen Chamber of Commerce brought Kong Saran back again, obviously because of its trust in his ability. Kong Saran will definitely be able to make countless profits because of this, and his status will rise. In fact, it is true. Kong Saran has stayed here for many years, and has a close relationship with the city lord's mansion and the heads of the major families. If it is said that he is in charge of managing the Fenggalan city branch, Kong Saran is indeed the best candidate. After chatting for a while, Yang Kai changed the subject and said, "Shopkeeper Joe, I came to Spirit Pill Workshop this time because I need to ask Shopkeeper Joe for help." Zhou Fu's face turned rosy, and he said in a deep voice, "Master Yang has any orders, just tell me. Joe will definitely go through fire and water, and he will do whatever he wants." "Hee, it's not that serious." Yang Kai waved his hand with a smile, and said, "I just want to buy something, faceless profound grass, Shopkeeper Joe should know." Faceless profound grass. Zhou Fu raised his brows and said, "This Joe naturally knows that there are still some stocks in the Spirit Pill Workshop. If Master Yang wants it, Joe will give it to you." Yang Kai shook his head and said, "The storage in the Spirit Pill Workshop is probably not enough." Zhou Fu said, "Master wants a lot. The more the merrier." Zhou Fu said, "Then Joe will send someone to search in the city, and Master Yang will not be disappointed." "Thank you, Shopkeeper Joe." Yang Kai cupped his fists and said. Zhou Fu said with a smile, "Master Yang, you are too polite. You saved the Lingdan workshop back then, so you can be regarded as half of the people in the Lingdan workshop. How can Joe not fulfill this small request?" To be continued. Chapter 2285 Qingyang Golden Order. Zhou Fu soon went out to discuss the matter of Wushang Xuansao. In fact, Yang Kai can do it himself to buy spirit grass, but it will waste some time and energy. It is different to ask Zhou Fu to help. The shopkeepers of these shops are often in contact with each other. If you need any materials, you just need to say hello. It can be arranged properly, which is much more efficient than Yang Kai doing it himself. After Zhou Fu went out, the two unkempt guys asked excitedly, "Master Yang wants the faceless profound grass, is it for alchemy?" Yang Kai smiled slightly and said, "That's right. Judging from the appearance of the two, they should also be alchemists." "Exactly, it is a great honor to be able to walk with Master Yang." One person replied with a flattering smile. Another person said, "Master Yang, the two of us have admired you for a long time, but it's a pity that we have never had the chance to see you. I didn't expect to have such a chance today. I am really lucky." These two guys seem to have oil on their mouths. "You say something to me." With a humble and respectful demeanor, you almost confessed to Yang Kai. Yi Qinghan stared dumbfounded for a while, only feeling that his three views were ruined, and he couldn't believe his eyes. In the world she knew, all alchemists were unrepentant and self-admiring. How had she ever seen an alchemist be so flattering and sycophant? But after thinking about it, the one who can subdue the alchemist is probably only a more powerful alchemist. Yang Kai even refined the almost lost panacea of Tai Miao Dan, so it is only natural for these two Void King level alchemists to be so respectful of. Those two were still flattering, seemingly endlessly, only touting Yang Kai as unparalleled in the world. Yang Kai coughed dryly, and said, "Do you two have something that you need Yang Kai to answer?" Yang also happens to be a little free right now. Hearing what he said, the two of them looked at each other, and they both saw the excitement in each other's eyes, and said one after another, "Master Yang Mingjian, it is like this. It is said that when you were refining yuening pill in the Spirit Pill Workshop, is loved and praised by customers from all walks of life, but since the two of us took over this place, the refined yuening pill always feels that it lacks a little bit of heritage. A lot, the two of us are thinking. If Master Yang has time, can you briefly introduce your alchemy experience to us?" Yang Kai heard the words. The alchemy recipe of the source of condensed pills in the dianfeng, was it improved by the Wangpu master? Exactly, Master Wangpu is an emperor-level alchemist, and the pillar of our Ziwen Chamber of Commerce. Since the alchemy formula is from Grand Master Wangpu, it must be fine. It seems that there are some flaws in your refinement, and what you say may not be useful. How about it? You are refining a furnace of source condensing pill now. How about I observe from the side? Yang Kai asked. The two were shocked when they heard the words. They both knew that Yang Kai was going to give them guidance on the spot, and immediately understood that this was a God-given opportunity, and that others might not be able to ask for such a good thing. How could there be any reason not to agree? immediately said in unison, "Master Yang's order, I dare not disobey, Master please." Yang Kai nodded and got up. Taking the two of them to the underground alchemy room with ease, Yi Qinghan also followed every step of the way, curious. Although she has a Daoyuan second-level cultivation base, she has never seen anyone make alchemy in her life, so she is very interested. Not long after, a few people came to the alchemy master underground. The place was full of enthusiasm, and there was a formation to draw the ground fire for alchemy. Yang Kai had stayed here for a few months. Naturally familiar. Asking the two to take out a piece of material and start alchemy, Yang Kai stood in front of them and observed carefully. With his current level of alchemy, it is naturally no problem to teach two top-grade alchemists of Zhuang level. Refining techniques, depicting the spirit array, mastering the heat, and the gathering of small details will often become the basis for affecting the quality of a batch of spirit pills. Yang Kai put forward opinions from time to time, and the two alchemists were taught with an open mind. Half a day passed in a flash. The two opened their furnaces respectively, and they both completed 5 or 6 pills, and the quality was good, which made the two ecstatic, and they were even more grateful to Yang Kai. At this time, Zhou Fu happened to send a message, saying that he had brought Wushang Xuancao. After Yang Kai asked the two people to stay and think about the gains and losses of this alchemy, he returned to the secret room in the back hall. Zhou Fu was waiting in the secret room. When he saw Yang Kai coming, he quickly took out a space ring, and said, "It's a good luck for Zhou to live up to his fate. There are 2,000 faceless profound grass here, please accept it with a smile from Master Yang." Yang Kai raised his eyebrows, nodded and said, "Shopkeeper Zhou is very efficient. 2,000 faceless profound grass is enough for him to use for a long time, but Zhou Fu only spent half a day to get it together. Obviously it took a lot of effort. If Yang Kai went to buy it himself, he would definitely not be able to buy it in half a day to so much. This price." Yang Kai picked up the space ring and raised his head to ask. Zhou Fu said, "These non-phase mysterious grasses are worthless, just take it as Zhou's wish, and I hope the master will not refuse." Yang Kai said with a smile, "You don't get paid for nothing, shopkeeper Zhou doesn't have to be like this." Saying this, Yang Kai suddenly waved his hand, and a hill-like source crystal appeared on the table. Before Zhou Fu could speak again, Yang Kai suddenly disappeared into the secret room, including Yi Qinghan. Only a voice came to Zhou Fu's ears. "If shopkeeper Kong returns to Fenggalan City one day, tell him for me that we will have a booze when we meet again someday." Zhou Fu was startled, looked at Yuan Jing on the table, and smiled wryly. On a certain street in the city, the figures of Yang Kai and Yi Qinghan suddenly appeared. As soon as Yi Qinghan appeared, she staggered delicately, almost fell to the ground, and her face was slightly pale. She looked at Yang Kai in horror, and asked, "Young Master Yang, this is space supernatural power." Quote, "Are you okay?" Yang Kai asked without answering. "It's the first time I've experienced this kind of teleportation, and I can clearly feel the turbulence in the surrounding space, and I'm a little scared." Yi Qinghan replied. Yang Kai smiled and said, "That's fine." While speaking, he took out a communication compass and passed the message inside. "Young Master Yang, what are you doing?" Yi Qinghan asked. "Oh, ready to go, leave a message for Patriarch Qin." Young Master Yang isn't going to say goodbye in person. Yi Qinghan looked at him strangely. Yang Kai Dao, it's fine to say goodbye in person, and it's not that I won't come back. Besides, Patriarch Qin should be very busy now. Didn't you say that the patriarchs of the major families in Fenggalan City are now managing with City Master Duan? Linggu Palace. Yi Qinghan said, "Patriarch Qin is fine, but Miss Qin. What's wrong with Qin Yu?" Yang Kai turned his head to look at her, and said, "When I left the customs, I checked Qin Yu's aura quietly. I found that she is very good, her vitality is stable, and her vitality is sufficient." Yi Qinghan pursed her lips and smiled. "Young Master Yang has been in seclusion for a month, and Miss Qin will come and wait outside your door for an hour every day. I'm afraid she wants to tell you something, so young Master Yang will give her a chance." Yang Kai glanced at her, curled his lips and said, "You women are the most gossip." While speaking, he had already left a message for Qin Zhaoyang in the communication compass, telling him that he would leave Fenggalan City for a while. "If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely come back again." The Qin family's million sword is in his hands, and he also made an agreement with Qin Chaoyang that on that day when Qin Yu can be promoted to Emperor Zun, he will return the million sword to the Qin family. With this involvement, it is impossible to sever his connection with the Qin family, but he doesn't know when Qin Yu will be able to break through the emperor, and whether he has this opportunity. Then, he took out the student identity plate from Qingyang Temple, and was going to tell Gao Shueding about his departure. This identity plate can not only be used as a verification of identity, but also can be used as a communication tool. As long as there are people in Qingyang Temple nearby, they can contact each other through their respective nameplates. This is. Yi Qinghan's beautiful eyes suddenly narrowed, looking at the golden token, a thoughtful look flashed in her eyes. After seeing the word, Qingyang, on the front of the token, her delicate body was shocked, and she lost her voice, Qingyang Jinling. Yang Kai glanced at her in amazement, not knowing why she reacted so strongly. It turns out that young Master Yang is an elite inner sect disciple of the Qingyang Temple. I'm really rude, Yi Qinghan smiled wryly, with a hint of envy on his face. Inner sect elite disciple, Yang Kai raised his brows, where did you see that? Yi Qinghan looked at Yang Kai with a strange expression. Said, since young Master Yang is a talented person in Qingyang Temple, don't you know the division of disciples? The corner of Yang Kai's mouth twitched, and he said embarrassingly, I'm just a name in Qingyang Temple, not a real disciple of Qingyang Temple. Then this golden order, Yi Qinghan's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. For a while, the world was spinning, and the whole body was trembling violently, thinking to himself that the golden token in Yang Kai's hand must have been snatched from someone, right? If this is the case, bringing this person to Chenyi sect will definitely bring disaster to the sect. Elder Gao forced it to me. Yang Kai said bitterly. Forcing, here, Yi Qinghan almost fainted. Many handsome young people in the southern region were beaten to death for a mere nameplate of a Qingyang disciple. But when he got to Yang Kai, he said that Elder Gao forced it to him, as if he was forcing him. Yi Qinghan only felt that the whole person was not well, and he didn't know if it was because of the teleportation just now, that he felt dizzy for a while. Hey, your face is so pale. Didn't you eat in the morning? Yang Kai glanced at her and said. Young Master Yang. Yi Qinghan looked at Yang Kai pleadingly, stop joking, I am timid, don't scare me. What are you talking about? Young Master Yang really doesn't know about the Qingyang golden token. Yang Kai said sternly, it's only been a month since I got this thing, and I've been in retreat for this period of time, what's so special about this nameplate? Yi Qinghan took a deep breath, her plump breasts heaved violently, and she almost burst out of her clothes, causing Yang Kai to stare at her frequently. She calmed down, and then said, although the nameplate of the disciple of Qingyang Temple the same, but divided into 3 grades of gold, silver and bronze. In the temple, only the top inner disciples are eligible to have the Qingyang gold token. Jin Ling represents the same status as the ordinary elders of the temple, and he can go to the industries of the major Qingyang temples in the southern region, and he can also mobilize the personnel and materials of those industries, which is extremely valuable. To be continued. XH 118. Chapter 2286 Temporarily not for sale. Phone reading. There is such a thing. Yang Kai was stunned after hearing this. He really didn't know that there were grades for the identity plates of Qingyang Temple disciples. Hollow up pointing triangle upright arrow. From this point of view, the Qingyang gold token that Gao Shueding gave herself is really extraordinary, which shows her trust and affirmation of her strength. Young Master Yang doesn't know anything. Yi Qinghan smiled wryly. It's just a nameplate. Yang Kai answered casually, poured spiritual thoughts into the nameplate, told Gao Shueding, then put away the nameplate, saying, let's go. Yi Qinghan put away the complicated expression on his face, became slightly excited, nodded and said, okay. As soon as the words fell, Yang Kai wrapped her up and teleported to a place outside the city. After that, Yang Kai sacrificed his wooden boat's secret treasure, stepped on it, waved to Yi Qinghan, and waited for her to fly up too. After standing still, he made a tactic with one hand and drove away at lightning speed. The wooden boat is not big, but there is no problem for 2 people to stand on it. Moreover, it is a Daoyuan level top-grade flying secret treasure, which is only 1 line away from the Emperor treasure, so the speed is extremely fast, and it can fly thousands of feet in a blink of an eye. Before this, Yang Kai didn't know where he heard the name of Chen Yizong, and he didn't know much about Chen Yizong. Taking advantage of the rush, Yang Kai simply asked Yi Qinghan about the situation of Chen Yizong. According to Yi Qinghan, the Chenyi sect was a great sect in the southern region a long time ago. Although it cannot be compared with the first-tier sects like the Qingyang Temple and Tianwu Holy Land, it is not far behind, but since the entrance to the secret realm was closed, the clan couldn't get enough aura to cover it, and in addition to the loss of many supernatural powers and secret arts in the clan, it suddenly declined. As time went by, the power became weaker and weaker, and it came to the generation of Yi Qinghen's father, Yi Hen. In the entire sect, there is also Yi Hen, who is a martial artist at the third level of Daoyuan, which is worse than that of the Jade Feather sect. Although the Jade Feather sect didn't have Emperor Senior Realm, but when Yang Kai went there were at least 4 third-layer Dao origin powerhouses. The last time the Land of 4 Seasons was open, there were still 2 quotas for the Jade Feather sect to enter. However, Chenyizong has none, which shows that there is still a little gap between them. Chenyizong is located in Cheny Mountain in Jiangzhou in the southern region, about half a month away from Fenggalan City. Fenggalan City originally had a space magic circle that went directly to Jiangzhou City, but it has not been repaired since the last time the magic circle was besieged by the drunkard and destroyed. After all, Fenggalan City is too small, and Duan Yuanshan and others are very light-hearted, and they can't invite a suitable formation master to repair the space formation. But now I'm afraid I don't have to worry about this problem. After the matter of the Linggu Palace is completed, Xiao Yuyang and others will definitely ask the formation masters of their respective sects to repair the formation as if it were new. Fenggalan City will become one of the big cities in the entire southern region in the future, and the Space Magic Circle will be able to connect all the cities covering the entire southern region. Yang Kai reckoned that it would be very simple when he wanted to go back to Fenggalan City next time. He only needed to find a not-so-small city and use the Space Magic Circle to teleport there. On the way, Yang Kai chatted with Yi Qinghen. Only then did he know. Cheny sect is actually a sect that mainly refines Imperial Envoy puppets, and most of its disciples have practiced the art of puppets. Quite miraculous. It was the first time for Yang Kai to encounter such a sect in the star boundary. There are 3,000 avenues, all of which lead to Emperor Zun. The technique of puppet is not weak, but because of the harsh conditions required for cultivation, refining puppet is also extremely complicated. So very few people can make achievements in this field, but if the puppet technique is cultivated to the extreme, it is an extremely powerful method. Since your Cheny sect mainly focuses on cultivating puppets, why have I never seen you use them? Yang Kai asked, puzzled. Even the last time when I was in danger under the eyes of the 18 Springs. Yi Qinghen has never used her own puppet either. Hearing Yang Kai's question, Yi Qinghen showed a bit of shyness on her face, and said coyly, I'm not afraid of young Master Yang's jokes when I say it. My Cheny sect is indeed famous for its puppet techniques, but since that generation of suzerains handed down many classics after the unsecret arts were brought into the secret realm, some methods of refining Imperial Envoy puppets in the sect were also lost, and now the puppets that our Cheny sect can refine are not of much use. Saying this, she pursed her red lips lightly, and when she made a gesture with both hands, a blue bird suddenly appeared on the palm of her hand. Yang Kai fixed his eyes and found that the bird was lifelike, just like a living thing. Even the feathers on the body were layered and natural in color, but after searching with his spiritual sense, he could clearly know that the bird was not made of flesh and blood, is just a puppet refined from various materials. Yang Kai's eyes showed surprise, and he felt that if the little bird didn't use his divine sense to distinguish carefully, he might really not be able to tell whether it was a living thing or a dead thing. And Yi Qinghen changed his spell again, stretched out a flamboyant jade finger, and pointed at the little bird. The next moment, the light on the cyan bird fluttered its wings a few times, tilted its head, and flew up all of a sudden, circling Yi Qinghen continuously. Not only that, it also uttered a bird song that could almost be faked. LL. Yang Kai was amazed to see it. He nodded and praised, Your Majesty's puppet technique is really amazing. Yi Qinghen blushed, and said, Yang Xiaomi praised, our sect's puppet technique can only refine some puppets like this, which can be used to detect the enemy's situation, but it can't be used in real battles. Because of this, some elders in the sect should practice other exercises and secret techniques, and feel that the puppet technique is useless. Yang Kai sneered. That's because they are short-sighted. Yi Qinghen's beautiful eyes lit up. Young Master Yang also thinks the way of being a puppet is good. Yang Kai said seriously, although I have not involved in this way, I also know that powerful puppets should not be underestimated. It is rumored that in the Star Realm, some puppets even have to shy away from the existence of Emperor Senior Realm. Yi Qinghen smiled wryly after hearing the words. I don't want to be able to refine such a puppet, but I just don't want the inheritance of Chenyizong to really decline. It's a pity. In fact, the most important thing to refine a puppet is the power of psionic power. Heart. My Chenny sect doesn't have a way to refine a high-level psionic heart. If there is one, it will definitely be able to reappear the glory of the past. Psionic heart. Yang Kai raised his brows, suddenly remembered something, stretched out his hand to grab it in the void, and then a few crystals about the size of pigeon eggs appeared on the palm of his hand, emitting a strange light. Before he could speak, Yi Qinghan cried out softly, "Psionic heart! Young Master Yang, how can you have a psionic heart?" "I got it in the land of 4 seasons. Yang Kai replied. At that time in the Temple of Time, the first level that everyone encountered was countless puppets. The psionic heart in Yang Kai's hand was collected after defeating those puppets. The number was not large. Only a few bucks. Land of 4 seasons. Yi Qinghan's expression darkened when he heard that, but he soon cheered up and said, "Young Master Yang, can I see this psychic heart?" Yang Kai glanced at her, and casually threw a past. Yi Qinghan happily took it, put it in his hands and played with it carefully, like a child who just got a new toy. His face was full of joy. The spiritual array on this psychic heart seems to be a very old thing. The gathering of some spiritual lines and veins has long been lost, and the grade of this psychic heart is not low. If my guess is correct, it should come from Daoyuan level puppet body. Yang Kai nodded and said, "That's right, thank you for being able to recognize it." Yi Qinghan said, "Young Master Yang was joking. I have been in contact with the way of puppets since I was a child, and I have done some research on it. If I have this psychic heart, I can completely refine a puppet at the source level." While speaking, she clenched the psychic heart in her hand, looked at Yang Kai eagerly and said, "Young Master Yang, I have a merciless request. Since it's an unfeeling invitation, then don't ask for it." Yang Kai knew what she wanted to say without her opening his mouth, reached out and opened her fingers, took back the psionic heart, grinned and said, "This thing I only have a few, I want to stay." Young Master Yang. Yi Qinghan had a resentful expression on her face, as if Yang Kai had abandoned her all the time. "Can you sell me one? It's useless if you hold it anyway." Now she only has Daoyuan level 2 cultivation base, which is equivalent to Yang Kai's realm. If she can refine a Daoyuan level puppet, her strength will inevitably skyrocket. For the warriors who couldn't extricate themselves, it was a blessing from God. Not only that, she can use this psychic heart to study the internal structure. Maybe she can get a glimpse of some mystery and then reproduce it in large quantities. If this is the case, then the strength of Chen Yizong will definitely be multiplied several times. Young Master Yang, just sell me one, I beg you. Seeing that her begging was fruitless, Yi Qinghan reached out and grabbed Yang Kai's arm, shaking it constantly, as if acting coquettishly. Yang Kai raised the corner of his mouth, showing an evil smile. "Hey," said, "Miss Yi, is it really appropriate for you to flirt with me in the wilderness like this?" Yi Qinghan blushed when she heard the words, and seemed to realize something was wrong. She let go of her hand as if she was electrocuted, and said sadly, "Then how can young Master Yang sell me one?" "Not for sale at the moment," Yang Kai replied. "Temporary." Yi Qinghan raised her brows when she heard the words, and smelled the meaning behind Yang Kai's words. Her beautiful eyes brightened and said, "When will it be sold?" Yang Kai he said, "It depends on the situation. Maybe it will never be sold, maybe it will be sold when the opportunity comes." Yi Qinghan stomped her feet angrily, but she had nothing to do with Yang Kai. When her voice fell, Yang Kai suddenly froze and stopped. Yi Qinghan stood on the wooden boat, behind Yang Kai, and almost bumped into Yang Kai's back without noticing for a while, but she reacted quickly, and when she was urged by the source force, her figure also stayed in place, but said angrily, "Yang Kai, what are you doing?" Yang Kai didn't return her, just looked at the surrounding void with cold eyes, a sneer and sarcasm on his face. "What's wrong?" Seeing his appearance, Yi Qinghan couldn't help but ask. For some reason, she suddenly felt a chill all over her body, as if she was being targeted by something dangerous. To be continued. P.S. I recommend a friend's new book, Super Immortal, about cultivating immortals, ISBN 3490634. If you are interested, you can read it. It has 100,000 words. Chapter 2287 Wind and Thunder Volcano. There was a silence above the wilderness, and the breeze blew by, but there was a sense of chilling. Yi Qinghan felt more and more that something was wrong, but she couldn't tell what was wrong. She just wrapped herself in the clothes and looked nervous. "Will you all show up obediently by yourself, or do you want me to take you out?" Yang Kai suddenly sneered and shouted at the void. What? Is there someone here? Yi Qinghan was shocked when she heard the words, and only then did she understand why she felt nervous, and exclaimed, "What's going on?" Being targeted. Yang Kai looked calm, without any sense of nervousness, waited for a while without a response, and then sneered, "It seems that you are very confident in your concealment technique. Do you think this young master is blackmailing you?" After uttering the last word, his figure suddenly blurred for a moment, and the next moment he appeared somewhere 30 feet in front of him, forming a palm with one hand, and slammed it down towards the void. The nebula flowed in the palm, and the power dissipated. Boom! At the same time as there was a loud bang, accompanied by a cry of surprise, a figure fell out of the void and retreated for more than 10 feet before he managed to stabilize his figure. After Yang Kai struck, he had already returned to his wooden boat, with his hands behind his back. The old god said, "Also, get out, don't waste this little time, I don't want to get you out one by one, everyone. I'm not a child anymore, is it necessary?" After he finished speaking, in less than 3 breaths of time, 2 figures suddenly appeared in the surrounding sky. Counting the person who was beaten out by Yang Kai earlier, there were as many as 3 people. Yi Qinghan stared dumbfounded. If it wasn't for Yang Kai's reminder, she would never be able to find out that someone was hiding here. Although she knew that there was a huge difference in strength between herself and Yang Kai, she did not expect to be so weak. Anyway, I am also at the 2nd level of Daoyuan, and I have no sense of the danger of this place. If these 3 people are targeting me, then my fate. Think here. Yi Qinghan's whole body was drenched with sweat. Hee. Yang Kai suddenly laughed. Instead of looking at the 3 people who appeared, he turned his head to look at the empty place, and said, "Why? This friend thinks that he is hiding well. Don't you knowing that I am in the upper hand of this young master, I can smell your breath from far away." After this sentence was finished, another person appeared over there. Anything else? Yi Qinghan's pretty face turned pale. After releasing the divine thoughts, I found that the 4 people who appeared all had restrained auras and strong cultivation bases. They were all at the Daoyuan 3rd layer level, and any one of them could crush themselves to death. 4 came out at once, because she had a deep understanding of Yang Kai's strength, so she couldn't help but worry, wondering if Yang Kai could fight 4 with 1. And those 4 people are also very strange. Since they appeared, they haven't spoken a word, and they can't see their faces clearly, because all of these 4 people have hideous grimace masks on their faces, and the masks are obviously some kind of secret treasure. With the effect of isolating the detection of spiritual sense, Yang Kai's spiritual sense was blocked by this mask after it was released. Except for the masks, the clothes worn by these 4 people are also the same. They are all black clothes, which look extremely capable, and there are big characters engraved on the clothes, which are wind, thunder, fire, and mountain. The aura emanating from their bodies is also quite different, and there seems to be a vague connection and resonance between them. Realizing this, Yang Kai's complexion sank slightly. Realizing that these 4 people don't seem to be easy to provoke, it is very likely that they have practiced some combination attack technique. Fengali volcano. Yi Qinghan frowned at this moment. There was a thoughtful look on his face, as if he remembered something. "Several friends have been waiting here. What is this for?" Yang Kai looked at the 4 of them with a smile and asked. The 4 of them didn't move, and after a while, the grimace with the word, "wind," on the clothes said, "Come with us." Yang Kai raised his eyebrows and asked, "Who are you and where are you going?" The Thunder Word Warrior said in a deep voice, "You don't need to ask any more questions, just walk around and you'll know." Yang Kai smiled and said, "I'm sorry, I'm a little shy, I've never met you, so I'll save it if I just walk around, there will be a period later." While speaking, as soon as he urged the wooden boat, he wanted to escape. There was a crackle, and when the lightning flashed, the Thunder Warrior suddenly turned into a thunderbolt, directly blocking Yang Kai's front, and said coldly, "I'm afraid it's not up to you." Yang Kai shrank his eyes, thinking to himself that this person's speed is so fast, this short-distance movement, I am afraid that it is not much better than his own teleportation, and judging from the aura emanating from this person, it should be cultivation lightning system skills. The power of the thunder element is domineering and fast, and it is only natural that this person has such a speed. Yang Kai's complexion suddenly sank. This person had obviously been hiding here for a while, and judging from their attitude and words, they probably came here specially to wait for him. But Yang Kai had no idea where these 4 people were from, and what purpose they were looking for. The only ones he offended during this time were Feixiong Palace and Xiaoyu Valley, but it is impossible for these 2 sects to have such powerful fighters, so it is definitely not that they are looking for trouble for themselves. Yang Kai secretly guessed that it was very likely that the million swords in his hand were to blame. But after thinking about it, it's not quite right. If so, the other party doesn't need to go with them, it's faster to kill people and seize treasures. In a hurry, Yang Kai smiled and said, "My friend is so fast, can I ask, what do you want me to do with you?" "No comment," Thunder Warrior replied coldly. "Your arrogant attitude really makes people unable to cooperate." Yang Kai curled his lips. "What nonsense are you talking to him, just take it down." The Huozi warrior seemed to be as irritable as he was because of his practice of the fire element, and when he saw Yang Kai whimpering, he immediately growled. When the words fell, a bright red long knife suddenly appeared in his hand, and with a push of strength, the knife rolled into the fire cloud and chopped off at Yang Kai. In an instant, the temperature of the air increased sharply, and the sky was printed in fiery red. "Blood knife!" Yi Qinghan suddenly cried out coquettishly, covered her red lips with her small hand, her beautiful eyes trembled violently, and she looked terrified. Yang Kai frowned, and when his figure was swaying, he had taken Yi Qinghan to avoid the terrifying blow, and reappeared tens of feet away, looking at the four people coldly, and asked, Do you know where these people come from?" "Blood knife. It's a blood knife," Yi Qinghan replied in shock. "So I ask you, what is the blood knife?" Yang Kai shouted impatiently. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath, calmed down the ups and downs of his mind, and then said, "The blood knife is an organization, not a sect, but it has a foundation stronger than the first-tier sects. No one knows where their chief rudder is. Where, but in the entire 4 major regions of the star world, you can occasionally see traces of their activities. They often collect money from people and eliminate disasters from people. As long as they pay the starting price, there is no one they dare not kill, and they shoot, has always been immortal." At this point, Yi Qinghan's voice trembled. "Young Master Yang, why are you being targeted by the blood knife?" Yang Kai curled his lips and said, "I am also puzzled." Before that, he didn't even know the organization of blood knife. While speaking, he yelled at the 4 people opposite him, "Blood knife's friend, can you ask who is going to take my life?" "No one." To Yang Kai's surprise, the Fengji martial artist actually answered his question, "I just took the order from above and took you back to the main helm, so I ask my friends to cooperate obediently." Yang Kai chuckled and said, "It seems that being too flamboyant is not a good thing. Young Master Yang, you are still in the mood to joke around." Yi Qinghan stomped. "Look at me." Yang Kai stared at Yi Qinghan seriously, and said in a low voice, "Do I seem to be joking? Am I not cool enough? I'm going crazy with your anger." Yi Qinghan's face turned red. "Shish." A sound of piercing the air suddenly came, and taking advantage of Yang Kai's conversation with Yi Qinghan, the Fengji warrior suddenly raised his hand and sacrificed his own blood knife, cutting out several wind blades. The wind blade showed a bleeding red color, like the gathering of blood. There is a disgusting bloody smell. "I don't know how many people these guys have killed, all of them are bloody and fierce, with a violent breath." Yang Kai's figure swayed again, easily avoided, looked at the blood knife people with a sneer, and said, "If you only have this ability, you guys should go home and farm. The outside world is not so messy, so there is nothing to say it's time to lose your life for no reason." Hearing his sarcasm, the 4 of them remained indifferent except for the anger in the eyes of the Huozi warrior. Fengzi warrior nodded and said, "Sure enough, it is as rumored, with space supernatural powers, it is not easy to deal with." Lei Ziwu said, "Because of this, it is worth taking it back, isn't it?" "Let's get started." Huozi warrior shouted impatiently. "Do it." Fengji warrior yelled loudly, at the same time his body shook, and the strength in his body was stimulated. In an instant, the wind surged, and the whistling sound could not be heard. What kind of powerful secret technique should be performed? At the same time, the same is true for the other 3, but the power permeating each person's body is completely different. Yang Kai's expression froze, and he shouted at Yi Qinghan, "Protect yourself." When the words fell, the man had already rushed forward, and a million swords appeared out of the sky in his hand, filled with imperial charm, sword energy, and sword intent. As if he wanted to cut the world, he slashed his head at the Fengji warrior. The other party knew that he possessed supernatural powers of space, but still dared to stop him here. Obviously, there was some back move, and the secret technique they are jointly performing at this moment is very likely to be this back move. Without knowing the details of the other party, how could Yang Kai allow them to display the secret technique safely? Slashing with a sword, the color of the sky and the earth changed, and the universe collapsed. Before the sword light arrived, the piercing murderous intent had rushed towards him. The Fengji warrior's eyes tightened for a while, and he smelled a breath of death. But he didn't dodge. On the cheeks covered by the grimace mask, the two exposed eyes flashed with determination, and the speed of the tactic with both hands suddenly accelerated. To be continued. R580. Chapter 2288. Is this dead? Phone reading. At the same time, the other three blood saber warriors also changed their spirits continuously, with solemn expressions on their faces. Pin Shu Wang WWW. Versus ODTW. COM. A strange sound suddenly came out, and the four people's bodies surged, and their halos fluctuated. Yang Kai's face changed. He found that the strength of these four people had a huge resonance at this moment, and they were closely connected with each other. Don't move, like a mountain. The mountain warrior who hadn't spoken a word suddenly yelled, his face flushed, and he slammed his hands into the void, rumbling, accompanied by a violent noise. Behind this person a huge phantom of a mountain peak actually appeared, disappeared in a flash, and submerged into his body. A layer of invisible ripples leisurely swayed around him, turning into a strange force, locking the world. He sat cross-legged, facing the void, closed his eyes, just like an old monk in meditation, neither hearing nor seeing. Boom! Yang Kai's million sword was also chopped down at this moment, but the Fengji warrior who bears the brunt of the blow raised his mouth, revealing a sarcasm smile. Snapped. This sword cut directly 3 inches in front of Fengji warrior. The sharp sword energy cut the black hair on his forehead, and even tore his skin with blood, but it failed to do what Yang Kai wanted. Hit it and kill it. The million sword was directly blocked by an invisible barrier. What the hell? Yang Kai shrank his eyes, and stared at the Fengji warrior in disbelief. He could see clearly that the other party didn't make any defensive moves at all, but miraculously blocked his fatal blow. At the moment when Yang Kai was astonished, the Fengji martial artist pointed at his chest, and the wind and clouds flowed on the fingertips, containing great power. In a hurry, Yang Kai blocked the horizontal sword. This finger hit the blade of million sword. The next moment Yang Kai's complexion changed drastically, and he only felt a huge force coming from the front. As if a mountain peak had bumped into him, he couldn't help but fall backwards, and the aura in his body suddenly became disordered. In midair, a fiery red figure approached quietly, and the fire character warrior held a blood knife and rolled up a cloud of fire. Take a picture of Yang Kai. Young Master Yang, be careful. Yi Qinghan's pretty face turned pale for a while, and she cried out softly. Hoo. In the wind and fire, the two forces of different attributes were superimposed together, and they matched perfectly, dyeing the whole world in a fiery red color in an instant. Yang Kai could naturally feel the ferocity of this move, and when his face changed drastically, he was about to move away, but with a crackling sound, the Thunder Warrior appeared behind Yang Kai like a ghost, and slapped him. Printed on the back. This palm hit was solid. Yang Kai couldn't dodge it at all. In an instant, the thunder energy surged, and the electric light flashed wildly, like a group of demons dancing wildly. The cooperation between Feng Leihuo and Feng Leihuo reached its peak in seconds, and their grasp of timing was perfect. It's as if a person's avatar made several shots at the same time, but Yang Kai fell into a situation where he could never recover in just 3 or 2 moves. Yi Qinghan looked pale. His eyes trembled, he stared at the place where the fiery clouds were burning, and kept asking himself in his heart, is he dead, is he dead? It is undeniable that Yang Kai is the most powerful Dao Origin Realm warrior she has come into contact with. That condescending aura, chic and unrestrained demeanor, and weird and unpredictable methods all made her yearn for it, and she secretly felt that Yang Kai would be able to achieve a great cause in the future. But such a person, he was beaten to death right in front of his eyes. And the death was so simple, Yi Qinghan couldn't believe it. Swipe. The warriors with the wind character, the warrior with the thunder character, and the warrior with the fire character flashed leisurely, side by side in midair, staring coldly at the bottom. Isn't the boss making too much of a fuss? This kid is nothing special. Huozi warrior snorted coldly and said with some disdain. The Fengji warrior frowned, focused on feeling the movement in the fire cloud, and said angrily, it's too ruthless for you to make a move. The higher-ups told us to capture alive, but it's not like taking a corpse back. If you die like this, how can I wait for a job? The face of Huozi warrior changed slightly, as if he realized that something was wrong, but he said stiffly, I didn't know that this kid couldn't help but can't bear a single move. Then what should we do now? Fengzi warrior snorted coldly. Fix the things I caused by myself, and I will report the truth after I go back. The lay character warrior frowned and said, okay, stop arguing. It's not sure if the person is dead or not. Maybe this kid is lucky and just seriously injured. Fire ghost, go down and have a look. The Huo character warrior was not happy when he heard the words, but he still swayed and rushed into the fire cloud to investigate. Both the Fengji warrior and the Lizi warrior waited anxiously, lest Yongkai really die like this. After all, the order from above was to capture Yongkai alive. If they really missed and killed them by mistake, then their good days are coming to an end. Blood knife internal punishment is simply not something they can bear. The fire cloud was still burning blazingly, as if it was going to burn forever. The inside was quiet, and the fire ghost didn't respond for a long time after entering. The lay character warrior and the Feng character warrior looked at each other, and they both noticed that something was not quite right. But at this moment, a sudden change occurred. There was a muffled groan coming from the fire cloud, and then the figure of the fire ghost shot out from inside, spitting out a mouthful of blood in midair, splashing into the sky. What? The faces of the lay and Feng warriors changed drastically at the same time. Swipe. A strange sound suddenly came out from the fire cloud. It seemed that there was a sword intent, and the sword energy was vertical and horizontal. The whole body is colorful and the sun is blooming. Young Master Yang. Yi Qinghan looked at the figure glowing with colorful lights, and couldn't help crying with joy. Impossible. Seeing Yang Kai's current state clearly, the Fengji warrior and the Lizi warrior exclaimed at the same time, because they were shocked to find that Yang Kai didn't appear to have suffered any injuries, but he was a little embarrassed all over his body. Moreover, the multicolored light emanating from this person at this moment seems to contain a great mystery. From the multicolored light, the two of them clearly felt the power of the pure five-element elements, and the power of the five elements appeared perfectly at the same time. In a person's body, mutual restraint and mutual generation, the cycle is endless, which greatly improved his whole person's aura. Be careful, this guy is hard to deal with. The fire ghost also rushed back from not far away, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and looked at Yang Kai eagerly. It's up to you to say it. The warriors with the word lay and the warrior with the wind turned their heads to look at the fire ghost at the same time. I'm really sorry for your concern. Yang Kai waved the million sword in his hand, and the immortal five elements sword chi lingered around him, grinning grinningly. When I was resting just now, this young master probably knows the meaning of your calculations. What is the art, Fengalai Huo? Everyone's power can form a resonance fit. While having their own power, they can also get the blessing of other people's power. Quote. At this point, he glanced at the man who had been sitting upright. In the void, the Shanzi warrior, who didn't care about everything outside, said, this Shanzi man is responsible for defending and locking a side of the world, right? No wonder my teleport just now didn't work. If it wasn't for my good body, I'm afraid it will be a big loss. The one who created this combination technique is indeed a genius. He had an expression of appreciation on his face. The face of the Fengji warrior changed slightly. In such a short time just now, did you see so much? Not bad. Yang Kai reached out and patted his body. I also took the time to change into a clean set of clothes. I don't know if you like it or not. Feng Ziwu Jie's complexion is really ugly, because he found that Yang Kai really changed a set of clothes, not just joking. The lay character warrior said with a gloomy face, it really makes sense for the superiors to tell the four of us to go out together. This kid can't make common sense comments. No matter how powerful it is, it's only a Daoyuan second-level realm. When the four of us join forces, we can fight for the General Emperor Senior Realm. Are you afraid of him? The fire ghost seemed a little annoyed. Hearing what he said, Yi Qinghan's heart that had been let go immediately became suspended again, feeling uneasy. If these four people teamed up can really fight against the General Emperor Senior Realm, then Yang Kai must have no chance of winning. On a par. After the three of you said something to me for a while, they simultaneously shut up and looked at Yang Kai solemnly. On the other side, Yang Kai responded with a smile, as if the clouds were calm. The atmosphere of chilling gradually permeated. Yi Qinghan felt cold all over her body, like falling into an ice cellar, and the ubiquitous murderous intent penetrated into her skin-like substance, making her extremely uncomfortable. She also knew that she could not help Yang Kai in such a battle with her own strength, so she simply didn't bother Yang Kai, and hid aside while her delicate body was shaking. At a certain moment, the killing intent colliding awe-inspiringly exploded like explosives, the atmosphere in the air suddenly changed, and the fire ghost shouted, "Kill!" With a loud shout, the fastest thunder character martial artist had appeared in front of Yang Kai in a flash. He raised a hand high, the thunder energy surged on the palm of his hand, and he made a gesture to take a picture, and in an instant the sound of crackling was endless. Yang Kai narrowed his eyelids and snorted coldly, 3,000 swordsmanship, seal it. The extreme move suddenly appeared, and the sharp sword glow cut across the sky, permeated Yang Kai's surroundings, and bombarded the lay word warrior in the past. The lay character warrior is still not afraid, just raised the corner of his mouth, his figure blurred, and disappeared all of a sudden, replaced by the fire ghost who was still tens of feet away and descended in front of Yang Kai like a ghost. Transformation. Yang Kai's expression changed. The fire ghost had already rolled his sword, and the fire cloud roared towards him, shouting loudly, "Fire starts a prairie fire." Boom boom boom. The sword energy collided with the flame, making a violent sound. For a moment, the spiritual energy of the world was in chaos, and the void trembled endlessly. Thunderstorm. The Thunder Warrior appeared on Yang Kai's left side at some point, and with a single hand clap, several arm-thick lightning bolts appeared out of thin air above Yang Kai's head, rushing down violently. To be continued. R1292. Chapter 2289. Wait will make you cry. Phone reading. As soon as Yang Kai broke through the blazing fire cloud, several lightning bolts from the sky crackled down, hitting his body, shaking his whole body with electricity, emitting a burnt smell. Quote, This thunder and lightning is extremely powerful. If Yang Kai's physical body is not good, and he used the Immortal 5 Elements sword secret technique, he would have passed out on the spot. Not working. Spring breeze. Wayu. Feng Ji Wuzi killed Yang Kai like a ghost when he didn't know when, and under the blood knife rolled up, a breeze blew across his face and enveloped Yang Kai. The breeze was pleasant, and there was a strange power inside. It seems to make people drowsy, give up resistance, and as the wind pours into Yang Kai's body, Yang Kai's eyes can't help but appear momentarily blank. At the critical moment, he bit the tip of his tongue suddenly, the law of space lingered around him, and several huge moon blades slashed out in all directions with the flick of his fingers. Get away! Feng Zi warrior's complexion changed, and he shouted in a low voice. Both the lay character warrior and the fire character warrior seemed to know about Yang Kai, and when they saw this space secret technique being displayed, they all had dignified expressions, and they all used body skills to avoid it. Wow! Accompanied by a light sound, a pair of illusory spiritual energy wings suddenly appeared behind Yang Kai. Above the wings, the power of wind and thunder lingered, making Yang Kai's speed suddenly increase. Wind and thunder wings. Yang Kai hadn't used this thing for a long time, and as his strength improved, as he mastered the laws of space, the effect that the wind and thunder wings could play became less and less effective. But at this moment, in the situation where this side of the world is being suppressed by the mountain martial artist, Yang Kai can't teleport at all, he can only use the wind and thunder wings to increase his speed a little. The wind is lingering, and the thunder can surge. The appearance of this pair of psychic wings made both the Wind Warriors and the Thunder Warriors stunned, as if Yang Kai had also mastered the power of the wind and thunder. Counting the power of the 5 elements on this person and his own power of space, Shui Dao and the others were shocked to find that Yang Kai had a wide variety of powers, which was simply breathtaking. Brush. Under the blessing of the wind and thunder wings, Yang Kai's speed increased again, and he appeared in front of the fire character warrior in a flash. A face was almost stuck in front of the other party. The Huozi warrior was startled, and when they looked at each other, they saw the sarcasm and murderous intent in Yang Kai's eyes, and couldn't help roaring angrily, "Why are you staring at me? You always have to pick the soft ones." Yang Kai chuckled. The Huozi warrior's face changed, and he said in a low voice, "You mean I'm the best to deal with?" "Who knows?" Yang Kai grinned. The reason why he was the first to attack the Huozi warrior was that, as this person said, he was the best to deal with. Not to mention the mountain character warrior, he can be seen as a person who pays attention to defense, under the resonance of the 4 people's power connection. Yang Kai reckoned that he might not be able to break through his defense in a short period of time, and the warriors with the wind character and the warrior with the thunder character were both extremely fast people, and only the warrior with the fire character was the soft persimmon among the 4. While speaking, he stretched out his hand a little forward, and said in a low voice, "Ning." The law of space is leisurely mobilized, although it is affected by the supernatural power displayed by the warrior of the mountain character, it still makes the warrior of the character of the fire stagnate. When the strong confront each other, life and death are only a moment away. This moment of stagnation, the Huozi warrior felt the call of death, and his face turned pale all of a sudden. Cut! Yang Kai shouted. The million swords in his hand were leisurely chopped off. The Huozi warrior had no time to make any defensive moves, and the sword had already slashed in front of him. At the critical moment, the warrior with the character of the mountain widened his eyes leisurely, and pinched the spirit art in his hand. A phantom of a mountain peak suddenly lay between Yang Kai and the Huozi warrior, and suddenly condensed into a substantial existence. Millions of swords slashed on the mountain, making harsh sounds. The mountain collapsed all of a sudden, but the power of Yang Kai's attack had been exhausted. Shanzi warrior just shook his body, then closed his eyes again, and sat upright on the spot. And the fire ghost narrowly escaped death, with sweat rolling down his forehead. One dodged and fled. At the same time, the Lei character warrior and the Feng character warrior arrived at the same time. After a fight, the two also realized that Yang Kai was extraordinary. They looked at each other and urged their own source power in unison. Under the movement, the two forces of wind and thunder rose together, turning into a thunderstorm, rolling towards Yang Kai. In an instant, Yang Kai was in danger. His clothes were cut into pieces by the sharp wind blade, revealing his strong muscles. Thunder and lightning crackled, swimming on his skin, making it difficult for him to move, and he could only resist desperately. In the distance, the martial artist with the mountain character took a picture from the air, and another phantom of a mountain peak fell in the air, as if to completely suppress Yang Kai in place. With a bang, after the phantom of the mountain peak fell, Yang Kai's body was short, and the ground under his feet split open, and cracks appeared densely like spider webs. He suddenly raised his hands, in a posture of reaching the sky, and put the mountain peak in the sky. Shanzi Wujia's expression, which had always been calm, finally showed some slight changes, and there seemed to be a flicker of shock. The other three people also looked solemn. After a fight, these three people did not dare to bully Yang Kai again, they could only watch from afar. This kid, isn't he a human? The fire ghost survived the catastrophe. His heart was still beating wildly until now. He stared at the front with wide eyes and said, he actually used the strength of his body to withstand the mountain ghost's beard. Mi Feng. This Sumeru peak weighs 100,000 catties, even a normal emperor can't hold it up, not to mention that Sumeru peak has the power to suppress it. His physical body is very strong. Feng Zi warrior said enviously. The Lei character warrior sighed, and said, now I understand why the superiors want us to capture this person alive. This person is really worthy of research. He is only at the second level of Daoyuan, and he has such strength. If we can capture him, my secrets are dug out, and I will benefit endlessly in the future. Hearing this, both Fengji warrior and Huogi's eyes lit up, as if they saw a bright future. But that's the end of it. Lei Ziwu snorted coldly. No matter how he resists, he will be suppressed by the mountain ghost Sumeru peak in the end. Both Fengji warrior and Huogi had approving expressions on their faces. Obviously they both understood the power of the mountain ghost as Mount Sumeru. Hey hey. At this moment, a sneer suddenly came out of Yang's mouth. After being besieged by these four people, he was in an extremely embarrassed state at the moment, but he still couldn't stop laughing. The fire ghost shouted loudly, kid, keep laughing, I will make you cry later. If only a few of you have this ability, then you will be the ones who will cry later. Yang Kai glanced at Huogui and said indifferently. What? The fire ghost was taken aback. However, the expression of Fengji warrior changed, and he shouted, no, hurry up, this kid still has cards. After the words fell, he was the first to rush forward, with the power of the wind system lingering around his side, and a force of law diffused. Dragon transformation. Yang Kai didn't wait for him to charge, and suddenly shouted. The high-pitched dragon chant sounded suddenly, and with the dragon chant, a golden giant shadow suddenly appeared behind Yang Kai. The golden giant shadow twisted, and it turned into a golden dragon in the blink of an eye, entrenched on the top of Yang's head. Two long eyes widened, staring in all directions. The Fengji warrior who was rushing forward paused, couldn't help taking a breath, and floated back while shaking. This is. Lei Zi's eyeballs trembled wildly. Long way. Huozi warrior also widened his eyes and shouted hysterically. The three of them all felt as if they were seeing a ghost in daylight. They felt their world spinning and the soles of their feet cramped. Yi Qinghen's expression was not much better. Seeing that Yang Kai was being suppressed by the Sumeru peak, she wanted to help, but before she could do anything, the change had already occurred. In an instant, the dragon's majesty permeated the audience, and the pure and real dragon's breath permeated, enough to make all spirits bow their heads, and everyone in the blood knife had an indelible shadow and fear in the bottom of their hearts. Ka-cha-cha. There was a sound, and Yong-kai's arms were covered with dragon scales, and even his exposed skin was covered with dragon scales. The phantom of the giant dragon disappeared in a flash, rushed into Yong-kai's body and disappeared, replaced by it is Yong-kai who has turned into a half-dragon. The already tyrannical aura almost climbed to the level comparable to that of Emperor Zunjing. With an indifferent expression, he slowly clenched one hand into a fist, and the other firmly held Mount Sumeru, no longer the hardships before, as if what he was holding was just an insignificant thing. Immediately, he punched violently and hit the bottom of Mount Sumeru. With a loud bang, Mount Sumeru, which weighed 100,000 jin, flashed wildly, and was hit by a huge force and shot straight into the sky. The mountain ghost's complexion changed drastically, and he almost bit his own tongue. With his hands in a tactic, he turned the Sumeru Peak into light and retracted it. You guys are miserable. Without the suppression of Sumeru Peak, Yong-kai was completely free, shaking his neck, and looked at the blood knife trio with a grin. Fight with him. Feng Ji warrior snarled and screamed, Feng Dao Shuang Jian. As soon as he stimulated the source power in his body, all the power turned into a knife and a sword, which was so huge that it seemed to have the power to cut through the world, and he slashed at Yong-kai. At the same time, Huo Gui and Lei Ziwu Jie also made extreme moves, and hit Yong-kai at the same time. The combination of the four people of Fengli Washan can borrow the power of other people to a large extent. Under the mutual influence and blessing, the power is infinite. They do have the qualifications to compete in the General Emperor Senior realm. But today, there was a scene that made their eyes pop. Facing the death-defying supernatural powers of these three people, Yong-kai drove straight in and went straight to the front. There were 2 clicks, and the three of them watched Yong-kai shatter the wind knife and frost sword with the power of his fists, before rushing into the eye of the storm and the thunderstorm vortex without losing momentum. In just a few breaths of effort, all three people's magical powers were broken by brute force. The figure flashed, and Yong-kai, who was a half-dragon, had already rushed in front of the three of them. One hand turned into a dragon claw, unparalleled in sharpness, it seemed to be comparable to the sharpest secret treasure in the world, and he grabbed Feng Ji warrior's chest. To be continued. Chapter 2290. Is this an illusion? Phone reading. The wind is gone. In the line of life and death, the warrior named Feng yelled. His whole body swayed in place, turned into a breeze and disappeared, and he didn't know which direction he was going to. This was actually an extremely clever way of escaping surgery. Yong-kai sneered, and stretched out his dragon claws to grab and hold the void, and invisible power came out through his body, turning into space law to suppress the void. The figure of Feng Zi warrior came out in embarrassment, and his face was full of disbelief, as if he didn't expect his most powerful life-saving means to be broken so easily by Yong-kai. Ah! Thunder warrior and fire ghost exclaimed at the same time. Death! Yang shouted loudly, and swung down fiercely with one hand in the direction of the Feng Ji warrior. A huge moon blade across the sky and earth appeared leisurely, as if it had come across endless time and space, in the shape of half a moon. With an unrivaled momentum, he slashed towards the Feng Ji warrior. The face of the Feng Ji warrior suddenly became extremely pale, and he swallowed nervously. He was locked by the law of space and could not avoid it. He could only watch helplessly as death approached. Accumulate soil to form a mountain. The mountain ghost who was tens of feet away suddenly shouted, and under the change of his hands, the Sumeru Peak reappeared, lying between the moon blade and the wind character warrior, and the rich earth elements fluttered soon. The gravel and soil on the ground were attracted up one after another, and in the blink of an eye, they gathered into an indestructible defensive barrier in front of the Feng Ji warrior. Boom! The moon blade slashed down, but the power to shatter the barrier was greatly reduced. With a crackling sound, the warrior named Lei turned into a flash of lightning, rescued the warrior named Feng at a critical moment, and escaped to the side. Yong-kai's face darkened, and he looked at the mountain ghost viciously. Since the fight with Shui Dao and the others until now, the mountain ghost has ruined his good deeds several times. If this person had no strong defensive means, it would be impossible for the 4 Shui Dao to support him for such a long time with all his means. Want to kill these 4 people? The mountain ghost must be the first to kill, otherwise he is in charge of defense. Yong-kai cannot kill the other 3 people at all, especially the mountain ghost sits there, and the other 3 people's breath is connected as one, sealing off this side of the world. There is no way for Yong-kai to teleport. Thinking of this, Yang Kai became furious. He smiled sinisterly, and said coldly, "You all really have great tricks. Yang is an eye-opener today. Don't be ashamed of your brat." Although the fire ghost was shocked by Yang Kai's tyrannical strength, he was not too afraid of him now that he had a large number of people on his side. "Rise. We don't promise to save your life." The lay character warrior nodded and said, "That's right, if we really kill you, we won't be able to explain it to our superiors, so you can just capture it with nothing." The Fengji warrior had a gloomy face and said nothing, as if his escape from death just now made him a little uneasy. Hey, Yang Kai sneered again. The fire ghost snorted coldly, playing mysteries. Yang Kai smiled, looked at him coldly, and said, "Then you can see clearly with your dog eyes. Is this young master playing tricks?" When the words fell, his spiritual thoughts surged out like a tide. He shouted loudly, "Come out." Accompanied by the sound, a small mountain suddenly appeared above the wilderness, falling from midair, shaking the ground and sending dust flying. The four of Shuidao were all startled, showing a look of bewilderment. Chi stared at the hill. Everyone couldn't figure out what kind of supernatural power Yang Kai was using to conjure a hill out of thin air. What the hell? Fengji warrior also gradually calmed down. Seeing this scene, he waved his hand impatiently. The strong wind blew past, blowing away the dust, and the hill was instantly imprinted in the eyes of the four people. The next moment, the four Shui Dao's eyes were all wide open, and they stared at the hill dumbfounded, with expressions of disbelief on their faces. Hey, I don't have eyesight, right? The fire ghost couldn't help yelling, swallowing his saliva while saying, "Why do I think this hill looks like a human being, with 2 arms and 2 legs? Gudong." The other 3 also swallowed, with extremely difficult expressions. "What the hell is this?" Fengji martial artist exclaimed in surprise. "There is another woman." Lazy warrior's eyes narrowed, looking at the pretty figure sitting on Xiaoshan's shoulder. It's a hallucination. The fire ghost looked quite frightened, and murmured to his companion palely, "Did Xiaoshan smile at me just now? This is a fucking hallucination, right?" "Well, it's possible." Fengji warrior showed a thoughtful look. "Probably this kid used some kind of illusion." While speaking, he turned his head and glanced at Yang Kai, but he saw Yang Kai looking at himself and the others with a smile on his face. The smile had a profound meaning and made people shudder, making the Fengji warrior feel extremely bad. "You should have called us out a long time ago." Watching Si sat on the shoulders of the Dharma body, dangling her 2 calves, and said, "I really don't know what you are fighting with them alone, wasting time and energy." She seemed to have seen the battle just now clearly in mysterious Shaoji. The Dharma body grinned, and his voice was like thunder, "Didn't we just come out?" This person and Yishan suddenly spoke, which immediately startled Shui Dao and the others. All of them turned pale, because they felt that what they saw and what they heard was so real, as if that person and Zhao Shan were real existence as the same, not an illusion produced by some illusion. Yang Kai chuckled and said, "I didn't expect these 4 people to be so powerful. I originally wanted to fight with 1 against 4. In the end, I was almost beaten into a pig's head." Watching Si snorted. Yang Kai curled his lips and said, "It's not that embarrassing, it's just that they are a bit tricky. Sister Hua, choose one yourself." Watching Si's beautiful eyes flowed, and she giggled coquettishly in her mouth. Her eyes wandered around the 4 blood knives, and finally fixed on Huo Gui. She pointed her jade hand and said, "It's just him. They all like to pinch soft persimmons." Yang Kai laughed dumbly. The fire ghost was furious when he heard the words. "Boy, I warn you, if you dare to say that I am a soft persimmon, I will fight you." Fengli Wanshan's strength in Shuidao was equal, and his status was the same, but Huogi was called a soft persimmon by Yang Kai several times, so he was naturally furious, feeling that he was simply underestimated. Watching Si smiled and said, "Those 3 guys, 1 is the main defense, the other 2 are the main speed. I don't want to deal with it, that's fine." "All right." Yang Kai nodded, and the 2 of them said something to each other, completely ignoring the fire ghost, making him very angry. "Then, you just deal with that mountain ghost, no problem." Yang Kai looked at the Dharma body and said. The Dharma body hummed with a smile, "It's exactly what I want. The defense of the mountain ghost master is exactly suitable for a powerful but ineffective existence like the Dharma body to be an opponent. Let's do it," Yang Kai said. His tone was extremely casual, as if the meal had been prepared, put it on the table, and greeted his family members, "Eat." Watching C giggled, and while her delicate body was swaying, she jumped off the shoulders of the Dharma body, and walked towards the mountain ghost gracefully. Halfway, a secret treasure of ribbons suddenly appeared in her hand, entangled and danced between her 5 fingers, and brought pieces of halo. "Brother, come and play." Watching C greeted the fire ghost enthusiastically. Huo Gui's expression was solemn, and he glanced at Wu Jie Fengzi and Wu Jie Leizi. The wind character warrior nodded slightly, and the fire ghost urged his strength. His whole body was wrapped in flames, as if his whole body was on fire, and he said sharply, "Whether you are an illusion or not, since you dare to find me, you should be ready to die. Prepare, this seat will not be sympathetic to women." "It's so fierce." Watching C covered her red lips with her hands, and she said coquettishly, "Don't be so fierce, I'm so careful." "Go to hell." The fire ghost was unmoved at all, the blood knife in his hand swung, the flames rolled, turned into a ferocious roaring fire dragon, and rushed towards Watching C. Watching C's face sank, she gritted her teeth and said, "Really? I'm a woman, I'll fight with you." While speaking, the ribbon was also poured into the source power, and it seemed to be alive all of a sudden, flying in the air, drawing colorful patterns, and enveloping the fire ghost. In an instant, the two fought together, their moves were ruthless, and the battle was fierce. At the same time, the Fengji warriors and the Lizi warriors suddenly felt their bodies sinking, as if they were being suppressed by an invisible mountain, and the space around their bodies hummed, and there were countless dark and young people. Spatial cracks, like living creatures, wandered around them. Both of them looked at Yang Kai together. Yang Kai grinned. "It's best not to move, you two, and it won't be too late for me to fight with you after my companion sends your companion on the road." The Fengji warrior's face darkened, and he said, "The mere illusion also wants my life. Don't you think it's too childish and ridiculous?" "Illusion, hey. Yang Kai chuckled for a while, with a look that deserved to be beaten, so that the Wind Warriors and the Thunder Warriors saw it, and they wanted to rush forward and beat him violently. Not only Shui Dao and others thought it was an illusion, but Yi Qinghan also felt the same way. Standing far away, she suddenly saw a huge stone man and a young woman appearing. At this moment, he kept rubbing his eyes, telling himself over and over again that this was an illusion, this was an illusion. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't see where the flaw in the illusion was. The huge stone man and the young woman seemed to be real. Boom boom boom. The Dharma body has already started to walk towards the mountain ghost step by step. Although the mountain ghost kept telling himself that this was an illusion, when he really saw the Dharma body walking towards him, he couldn't help swallowing, his face turned pale. The incomparably huge body of the Dharma body puts too much pressure on people. In 2 or 3 steps, the Dharma body came to the mountain ghost. Looking around, the mountain ghost was sitting cross-legged in front of the Dharma body's nose. The small figure formed an extremely strong visual conflict with the Dharma body's huge body. To be continued. R1292. Chapter 2291 Save You. Phone reading. Hey. Dharma body suddenly grinned and smiled at the mountain ghost. Opening square bracket comma. Cold sweat dripped down Shan Gui's forehead like rain, and he swallowed his saliva and yelled, "Feng Gui, I feel, something is wrong, this doesn't seem to be some kind of illusion." Feng Gui's face darkened, and he sternly shouted, "Be careful, don't be disturbed." Until now, he still felt that what he saw was an illusion, because no one could conjure such a stone man and a young woman out of thin air, even the 10 great emperors couldn't do it. Hearing the words, the mountain ghost took a deep breath, calming down a little from the panic. At this time, Yang Kai smiled strangely at Feng Gui and Thunder Ghost, and said, "Yes, how long can you mountain ghost hold back?" Reggae snorted coldly, "If you don't pretend to be forceful, you can die. Don't say it's just an illusion, even if there is really a strong emperor senior realm here, the mountain ghost can still stand upright with 10 breaths of kung fu." Feng Gui also said, "Boy, don't underestimate our blood knife 4 ghosts." Yang Kai laughed, "Tell you 4 ghosts to become dead ghosts immediately." After he finished speaking, he yelled at Dharma body, "You heard it, people say that even if it is a shot at the emperor senior realm, this mountain ghost brother can persist for 10 breaths. 10 breaths. Dharma body smiled, and that smile turned into a hideous smile in an instant, humming, 3 breaths are enough. After the words fell, he punched violently and blasted towards the mountain ghost. I don't know if it's because of the joint strike technique. The mountain ghost has not moved since it appeared, and has been sitting cross-legged in midair. He connects for the central circulation. So even if he saw the Dharma body punching, he had no intention of avoiding it. But he stretched out his hand with a dignified expression, and Peak Sumeru reappeared, but this time, Peak Sumeru almost turned into substance. And the light was shining brightly, as if there was really a mountain blocking him. The mantis arm is like a cart. Dharma body snorted coldly, and the fist as big as a mountain bag slammed down hard. Boom! There was a loud noise, the sky and the earth shook for a while, and the point of contact between the fist and Mount Sumeru suddenly swayed layers of halos of power, turning into whirlpools and spreading around. The mountain ghost's solemn expression turned pale in an instant. When he opened his mouth, a cloud of blood mist sprayed out, and his aura suddenly languished. At the same time, the Mount Sumeru, which stood between the Dharma body and the mountain ghost, shattered even more, turning into countless rays of light, and shooting in all directions. What? Feng Gui's expression changed drastically. Impossible, Reggae also exclaimed. The two of them couldn't believe their eyes anyway. The mountain ghost, who was born with a strong defense, was blown through the defense by the stone man in a single encounter, crushed Mount Sumeru, and was directly severely injured. Both of them asked themselves over and over again, is this also an illusion? If this is an illusion, then it is too real. The mountain ghost was bleeding, and the smell of blood in the air lingered on the noses of Feng Gui and Reggae, making them tremble. But after the Dharma body struck, he didn't stop, and threw out another punch. Boom! The deafening sound came out for the second time. This time the mountain ghost did not have Mount Sumeru to block it, but it desperately changed its spell. Exercising his supernatural powers to the extreme, the strength of the earth elements in his body fluctuated. The law of earth lingers and turns into protection. Ka-cha-cha! A burst of dense crisp sounds came out, and visible to the naked eye, within a radius of several hundred feet where everyone was, a layer of transparent light curtain like an upside-down bowl vibrated out. But at this moment, the light curtain is like a shattered mirror, cracked one after another, and then shattered, turning into dots of fluorescent light, dissipating the world. Yongkai felt light all over. Grinning at the wind ghost, Reggae said with a smile, it seems that the blocking power has been shattered, are you sure it's just an illusion? The faces of Feng Gui and Reggae were so gloomy that they could almost drip water, and their hearts were in a mess of shock. What they saw and heard made their expressions tangled and hesitant, and they were really not sure if it was a hallucination. Puff! On the other side, Shan Gui spat out a mouthful of blood again, his already sluggish aura was even more unbearable. His face was as pale as paper. He looked in the direction where Feng Gui and Reggae were, and said with difficulty, save me. The Dharma body couldn't stop laughing, and then swung the third punch again. But at this moment, the mountain ghost was powerless to defend against anything. Seeing the fist like a mountain bag hitting him, he felt cold all over his body and his hands and feet were numb. The fist hit the mountain ghost directly, and in the midair, the mountain ghost's body burst open and turned into a blood mist, which sprayed down profusely, and the aura of the whole person disappeared instantly. Look, it's just 3 breaths. After the Dharma body had done its work, it turned around and smiled at Yongkai. Yongkai gave him a thumbs up. Feng Gui and Reggae looked at each other, knowing that the situation was not good, and at this moment, they didn't care about the space cracks lingering around them, and suddenly urged their power. Their own laws lingered, broke through the blockade of space power, and turned into 2 directions to escape. Since you're here, then don't leave. Yongkai smiled, and suddenly appeared in front of Feng Gui with his dragon hands forming claws, grabbing him. Feng Gui turned pale with fright, raised the bloody knife in his hand, and slashed with all his strength. On the long knife, the wind whizzed up, as if it contained great power. A trace of cruelty flashed in Yongkai's eyes, and he grabbed the blood knife in his hand. All of a sudden, there was a harsh friction sound of gold and iron clashing. Are you kidding me? Feng Gui's eyeballs almost fell to the ground, and he was shocked to find that the opponent actually received his blow with physical strength, and it didn't hurt a bit. This blood knife of mine is a secret treasure at the Daoyuan level. At this moment, if you hit it desperately, even the Emperor's senior realm would not dare to take it with your hands. But the other party did it. At the moment when he lost his mind, Yongkai's other hand was directly printed on his chest, and the violent source power poured out and poured into Feng Gui's body. With a sound of wow, Feng Gui flew out as if being bitten by lightning, and the light all over his body dimmed instantly. Yongkai followed closely behind him, moving his hands and stabbing Feng Gui a few times, directly suppressing his cultivation. Although Feng Gui was ashamed and shocked, he still looked at Yongkai with cold eyes, and shouted in his mouth, if you want to kill, kill it. Your situation will be sent to the Blood Knife Chief Helm, and next time someone more powerful will come to you. Quote. I killed you all, who can reveal my situation? Yang Kai sneered. Feng Gui said. Thunder Ghost escapism is unparalleled in the world, you can't catch him. You didn't wake up, did you? Yang Kai sneered. Wind Ghost. At this moment, a frustrated call came from not far away. Feng Gui was taken aback when he heard the words, and turned his head to look over there, only to see Reggae standing in the air with his head downcast, his body surrounded by there were a series of pitch-black moon blades, buzzing, ready to go, so that he dared not make the slightest movement. Why do you? Feng Gui looked at Lei Gui in disbelief, never expecting that the other party did not run away. Falled. Reggae sighed, looked at Yang Kai with complicated eyes and said, the higher-ups have underestimated this person, we are not opponents. So that's how it is. Feng Gui smiled miserably. I'll take a step first. Reggae suddenly said in a deep voice, and immediately pinched his hands, the source power in the whole body suddenly rioted, and the body swelled accordingly. Yang Kai's face changed drastically, and he shouted, how dare you? Reggae showed a sarcasm, I am not your opponent, but I still have the right to choose how to die. When the words fell, his whole body exploded on the ground, leaving no bones left. He chose to blow himself up directly after being trapped. His firm will and decisive action made it impossible for people to think that it was too late for Yang Kai to stop it. And the self-destruction of a Daoyuan third-layer realm powerhouse is so powerful that it is outrageous. A black hole was directly blown out of the void, the space was unstable, and the violent air flow flowed in all directions. Even if Yang Kai was not close, he was shocked by the aftermath, and the wind ghost who had been abolished there was even a muffled groan, all the bones in his body were shattered, and his 7 orifices bled to death. Yi Qinghan was also thrown high by the aftermath of the self-explosion, constantly urging the source to resist, her pretty face turned pale. After a while, the aftermath gradually subsided. Yang Kai came to Feng Gui with a sway, but saw that this person had no breath, and he couldn't die anymore. Damn, Yang Kai couldn't help but cursed, looked up at Hua Qingxi, and shouted, Sister Hua, keep alive. He doesn't know what kind of organization the Blood Knife is, and why he found him this time. If he can catch 1 or 2 survivors and ask them, he may not be able to find out some news. He didn't directly kill Feng Gui, but abolished his cultivation base. Just because of this consideration, he didn't want to be shocked to death by Feng Gui or the aftermath of Reggae's self-detonation. The mountain ghost has already been blown away by the Dharma body, and now only the fire ghost is left alive, so he naturally doesn't want the fire ghost to perish just like that. But when he yelled that sentence, he froze in place. Hua Qingxi's side was lingering with ribbons, and she also turned her head to look at him with a wry smile, and said, this. I'm afraid it will be a bit difficult. Not far in front of her, the fire ghost grinned sternly, his blood knife pierced into his heart at some point, and blood overflowed from his mouth. Although his face was painful, he still laughed wildly. When the blood knife strikes, it will never die, ha 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 ha. Quote. Judging from his appearance, it was obvious that he committed suicide. He probably saw that the other 3 had fallen one after another. He felt that there was no hope of escape, so he directly stabbed himself in the heart with a bloody knife. With such a fatal injury, even the Emperor Senior Realm wouldn't be able to live for long, not to mention that the fire ghost was only at the 3rd level of Daoyuan. If he was left alone, he would die in just a while. Yang Kai's face was livid, and after a few changes, he gritted his teeth and shouted, you want to die without this young master's consent? Do your spring and autumn dream. When the words fell, he had already swayed, and came directly in front of the fire ghost, and slapped him with one hand to seal his power, lest this guy choose to blow himself up like Reggae, and if that is the case, he will really die powerless. You, what are you doing? Even though he had heard the call of death, Huogui couldn't help being startled when he saw Yang Kai's hideous appearance. Yang Kai sneered continuously. What to do? Of course it is to save you, no thanks. To be continued. Chapter 2292 Backbone. Phone reading. Save me. The fire ghost widened his eyes, which were gradually losing energy, with a look of astonishment. Yang Kai had already grabbed his collar, and disappeared in place while shaking his figure. Above the wilderness, there was a strong smell of blood, the mess left over from the Great War was everywhere, and there were many severed limbs. The scene was extremely miserable. Young Master Yang, Yi Qinghan flew back with a pale face, looked around, but did not see Yang Kai's figure, and asked Hua Qingxi anxiously, "This sister, where did young Master Yang go?" Hua Qingxi and Dharma Body looked at each other, and in a flash she came behind Yi Qinghan, stretched out her hand and turned it into a palm knife, and slashed at the back of her neck fiercely. Yi Qinghan never thought that Hua Qingxi would attack her. After all, in her opinion, Hua Qingxi and Yang Kai were in the same group, so she had no defense at all. She fell limply to the ground when the knife was chopped off. "You killed her." Dharma Body was startled. "How is it possible?" Hua Qingxi rolled his eyes at him, and said, "It's just knocked out." After a pause, she looked at Dharma Body suspiciously, and asked, "What are you doing?" While speaking for a while, she found that the Dharma Body walked in front of the dead Feng Gui, and stretched out her hand to pinch the corpse on the ground. Dharma Body grinned, and said, "What else can I do? This is a great tonic." Tisk tisk, Dao Yuan 3rd level. Hua Qingxi's pretty face paled when she heard the words, as if she remembered something. She exclaimed, "Are you going to use that evil technique to devour his flesh and blood essence again?" Dharmakaya said, "It's just waste utilization. It's disgusting, don't do it in front of me, or I will break up with you." Hua Qingxi said with a look of disgust. At this moment, Yang Kai suddenly flashed and reappeared on the wilderness, beckoning to Dharma Body and Hua Qingxi, "Come back." After speaking, he looked at Yi Qinghan who was fainted on the ground again, seemed to understand something, and nodded, "It's fine if you get knocked out." He stretched out his hand and sucked Yi Qinghan into the mysterious boundary bead, and at the same time opened the boundary of the mysterious boundary bead, allowing Hua Qingxi and Dharma Body to enter it. Within mysterious Shaoji, beside the medicine garden, Yang Kai and Dharma Body reappeared. At this moment, the fire ghost's breath was sluggish, his vitality was dim, and he seemed to be dead. The blood knife stuck in his chest stood upright, and blood continued to flow from the wound. Although he was embarrassed, he laughed mockingly, "This seat has been fatally injured. In the world, there are only a few healing medicines that only exist in legends. No one can save me. I advise you not to waste your efforts." Cough cough. He was coughing as he spoke, and there was blood in the corners of his mouth and nostrils. Yang Kai hummed, "It's probably impossible to restore you to the original state, but it's definitely no problem to hang your life." He came straight to the fire ghost, stretched out his hand and squeezed the fire ghost's mouth open, then took out a large amount of healing elixir and poured it in. The fire ghost is also stubborn, and still refuses to compromise. He just shook his head like a rattle, but now his cultivation base has been sealed. How could he beat Yang Kai? After struggling for a while, he had no choice but to swallow those spirit pills. His eyes were extremely resentful, and his eyes were full of sarcasm, obviously feeling that it was impossible to hang his own life with Yang Kai's means, because he clearly felt the passing speed of his vitality. Although the feeling of life slowly leaving the body is chilling, it is better than being tortured in the hands of the enemy. Under his gaze, Yang Kai sat cross-legged in front of him, making a formula with both hands, and pressed his palm towards his chest. The palm was pressed on the blood knife. The blood knife inserted in the chest was poured out directly, bringing out a large amount of blood. The fire ghost couldn't help but groan, his body shook violently, only feeling that he was going to die soon. But the next moment, the fire ghost's expression lifted, because he felt a strong and pure vitality pouring in from the outside world, pouring into his body, making himself on the verge of death slowly retreat from the gate of hell. The wound on his chest was numb, but he stopped bleeding, and the lost vitality was greatly replenished at this moment. He stared and saw a lush tree in the nearby medicine garden, not more than half a person tall, exuding a green aura, which was visible to the naked eye, and was being pulled by Yang Kai's secret technique, pouring into his body. What is this? The fire ghost knew that he would die sooner or later, but he was still trembling in shock, because he felt an unimaginable vitality from that small tree. The green aura that came out acted on him, which prevented him from dying immediately. He froze in place for an instant, realizing that this little tree must be famous. Immortal tree, I don't know if you have heard of it. Yang Kai grinned at him, the smile was full of evil taste. Eternal tree, the fire ghost shook his body, looked at Yang Kai in shock, and shouted, "You fart." The eternal tree was conceived by heaven and earth, and it has the effect of living dead human flesh and bones. It is rumored that if the eternal tree is refined, you can achieve an immortal body. Such a god, how can you have? I know quite a lot. Yang Kai smiled. Is this an immortal tree? Who are you lying to? The fire ghost dismissed it. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. Yang Kai glanced at him and said with an evil smile, I have the strength to fight with me, it's not bad, it looks like I won't be able to die for a while. As soon as this remark came out, the fire ghost immediately fell silent, his expression changed endlessly, and his expressions were brilliant. He was shocked to find that just the green aura emanating from the small tree could make his injuries show signs of improvement, stop bleeding, and avoid the bad luck of death. If he could swallow the leaves on the small tree, wouldn't it mean immediately he will be able to live alive and recover from his injuries? As soon as this idea came out, the fire ghost was completely shocked, and cold sweat rolled down his forehead. Although he didn't want to believe it, judging from his own experience, this little tree might really be the legendary tree of immortality. Gudong. The fire ghost couldn't help swallowing his saliva, his eyes suddenly became fiery, and he stared at the tree of immortality. Yang Kai no longer cared about him, but said to Dharma Body, this person is handed over to you, you must ask something. Don't worry, he will speak. The Dharma Body grinned sinisterly, and the voice came into Huogui's ears, making his hair stand on end. Turning his head to look, he found that Yang Kai had disappeared, only the huge stone man was sitting cross-legged on the ground, holding a dead man in his hand. Feng Gui. Huogui looked at Feng Gui's corpse sadly, with the sadness of a rabbit dead and a fox in his heart. After a while, he looked coldly at Dharmakaya and said, no matter what the hell you are, you can never get out of here. Ask any information out of this seat. Bones. Dharma Body praised, I like people with backbones the most. Don't worry, I won't make things difficult for you. The fire ghost sneered, obviously he would not easily believe the words of the Dharma Body. But to his surprise, the Dharma Body really didn't pay attention to him, and didn't mean to torture him to extract a confession. Instead, he put the corpse of Feng Gui in his hand in front of him, and wrapped his hands around the corpse in the palm of his hand. Superior. What are you going to do to Feng Gui? Huogui's complexion changed drastically, and he asked sharply. What am I going to do? Hehehehe. Dharma Body laughed strangely. The veins on Huogui's forehead were twitching, and he became inexplicably upset. The Dharma Body's perfunctory attitude of not answering questions, but asking the question itself was really infuriating. While the fire ghost was in a state of anxiety, seeing Dharmakaya's expression turn serious, he shouted loudly, heaven-devouring warfare. The fire ghost's eyes widened in an instant, and the upper and lower rows of teeth collided violently, making a rattling sound, and uttered in shock, Che. Heaven-devouring tactics. Huogi didn't have the backbone as he said before, or in other words, what he saw was beyond his psychological limit. He could stab the bloody knife into his heart without hesitation to prove his will, but after seeing the Dharma Body perform the heaven-devouring art on Feng Gui's corpse with his own eyes, the defense line in his heart collapsed all of a sudden. No one wants to be devoured alive with the essence of flesh and blood. This kind of death is too miserable. So he quickly revealed everything he knew. The four of them are indeed blood knife warriors, and they have indeed received orders from their superiors to capture Yang Kai alive and return to the main helm. As for the reason, Huogui can't say. The four of them are just following orders, and the internal hierarchy of blood knife is extremely strict. If you don't reach a certain level, you can't get in touch with the secrets of the corresponding level. They didn't even know who gave the order. They just received an order representing a mission at a specific place and at a specific time. And through this questioning, Yang Kai also learned that the size of the blood knife was beyond his imagination. There are various members of the blood knife, scattered among the major sects in various regions, and there is no trace at all at ordinary times. Only after receiving the task, only then will he turn into a member of blood knife and go out on business. As soon as the mission was over, it disappeared again, and no one could trace it. And when Dharmakaya asked where the main rudder of the blood knife in the southern territory was, the fire ghost suddenly burst into the sea of consciousness before he could answer, and died. He seemed to have been banned by some strong man. Secret, this prohibition will be touched, so as to avoid the leakage of news. After getting this information from the Dharma Body, Yang Kai's face was so gloomy that he could almost scrape off a layer of frost. Although it was his first contact with the Blood Knife organization, judging from the strength and performance of the four ghosts, the Blood Knife was not easy to provoke, but now he was being targeted by others, but he didn't even know the reason, let alone the enemy. A lot of information. This put him in a very bad mood, and there was always a feeling of a stick in his throat. The Blood Knife is shot, and there is no end to death. If the mission fails this time, Shui Dao will definitely not let it go, and there will definitely be stronger enemies coming to him. He can get rid of the 4 ghosts of Fengli Wanshan, but what about next time? What if the blood knife is dispatched by a strong emperor? For a while, Yang Kai was worried. To be continued. Chapter 2293 Sky Crane City. Just when Yang Kai was feeling depressed, there was a whimpering sound from behind him. He turned his head and saw Yi Qinghan frowned, sitting on the wooden boat with a blank expression on his face. Hollow up pointing triangle. She still seemed a little confused about the situation in front of her. But soon, she remembered what happened before she fell into a coma. She stood up abruptly, and said coquettishly, "Young Master Yang. You're awake." Yang Kai glanced at her and said calmly, "Don't move around, check yourself for any serious problems." Yi Qinghan nodded when she heard the words, closed her eyes to examine her situation, opened them after a while and said, "It's nothing." She was just knocked out by watching C. Although she was hit by Reggae's self-detonation before, she didn't suffer any serious injuries. It's just a sign of unstable blood, and she can recover after taking some pills. Yang Kai, where's that older sister and that big stone man? Watching C looked around, but didn't find any traces of Watching C and Dharma body, so she couldn't help asking. Yang Kai Dao. What sister and stone man? That's the one. Yi Qinghan was about to describe it, but suddenly her eyebrows frowned, and she asked with a strange expression, could it be, that is really a hallucination? At this moment, when she thought back to the scene where Watching C and the Dharma body appeared, she always felt that everything was so unreal, and she suddenly wondered if she had been hit by an illusion. The young woman and the stone man were not real anymore. Before I used a pupil technique to deal with the 4 ghosts, you probably had hallucinations. Yang Kai replied. So that's how it is. Yi Qinghan let out a breath and laughed at himself. Young Master Yang really has great powers, but it's a pity that I can't help you a little bit. It's nothing, the 4 blood knife ghosts are not Yi Yi's people. If you really intervene forcibly, you are probably dead by now. Yi Qinghan was in a cold sweat when he heard this, and once again realized the huge gap between himself and Yang Kai. The blood saber 4 ghosts were strong at the 3rd level of Daoyuan, and with the combination of the 4, they could fight even the Emperor's senior realm, but in the hands of Yang Kai, they were almost completely wiped out. Such a record, enough to be proud of. The cultivation base of the same Daoyuan 2nd layer, but Yi Qinghan found that the strength gap between himself and Yang Kai was like a cloud and mud, and he couldn't help feeling depressed for a while, yearning that one day he could have Yang Kai's strength. How good would such power be? She smiled bitterly, stretched out her hand to touch the back of her neck, but found that there was a slight pain there, and immediately froze in place. Recalling the scene where the young woman knocked herself out, Yi Qinghan was extremely at a loss, and really didn't know whether what she saw before was a hallucination or reality. All the way without words. Yi Qinghan also seemed to find that Yang Kai was not in a good mood after encountering the 4 ghosts. So I didn't bother him, just pointed the way, and meditated on the wooden boat to rest in my spare time. After more than 10 days, the 2 of them saw a stretch of mountains in the distance. Yi Qinghan just got up from the wooden boat, pointed to the mountain range in front of him with joy and said, "Young Master Yang, this is Cheni Mountain. Our Cheni sect is located in this mountain, and we can reach it in less than half a day." "Yeah," Yang Kai responded casually. Yi Qinghan said with a smile, "Let me send a message to Daddy so that he won't worry." It took her several months to go out this time, and she was alone. It will always worry the relatives. Now that I have returned safely, the first thing I want to do is to report that I am safe. Yang Kai also ignored her, just sat in front of the wooden boat and watched the surroundings quietly. Yi Qinghan took out the communication compass and poured the information into it, not for a while. The compass suddenly buzzed, as if there was an echo. After Yi Qinghan checked, Dai Mei frowned suddenly, with an unhappy expression on her face. Yang Kai noticed that her expression was different, and asked, "What's wrong?" Yi Qinghan pouted and said, "My father actually asked me to represent Chen Yizong but to participate in the concubine ceremony of the Lord of Sky Crane City. I really pissed him off." She complained. "I should have known that I was back. It also saves you the hassle. You seem very unwilling to go." Yang Kai looked at her with a smile. Yi Qinghan snorted coldly and said, "I don't mind meddling in the matter of someone who forgets the master. He took his concubine, and so did Dad. What are you doing for him, and sending someone to attend this troublesome ceremony?" Quote. Yang Kai's expression changed, and he said, Yu Cheni sect has a festival with this Sky Crane City Lord. Yi Qinghan had a cold expression on his face. That guy is an ungrateful person. He was able to sit on the position of the city lord back then. It was all thanks to the support of my Chiba sect. Now that his wings are hardened, he found another backstage. We put it in our eyes, and we still crowd out the many industries of our Cheni sect in Sky Crane City. What a villain. Yang Kai wasn't too interested in these things, so he didn't answer after asking casually. Yi Qinghan seemed to realize that something was wrong, stuck out her tongue and said, "Young Master Yang, I'm sorry, my concubine made a slip of the tongue. It's okay, there are always some stingy people in this world who make people angry." Yang Kai waved his hand. "Young Master Yang, wait a moment. I'll tell Daddy to take you back to the sect for resettlement," Yi Qinghan said, and then poured spiritual thoughts into the communication compass again. "No need," Yang Kai grinned, "I'll go with you, save trouble, just relax." Yi Qinghan was overjoyed when he heard the words, and said, "Thank you, young master, and please forgive me if I neglected you." "No problem." While talking, the two immediately turned their direction and headed towards Tianhe City. Tianhe City is 3,000 miles away from the foot of Cheni Mountain. Although the city is not too big, it is much better than Fenggalan City, and it can be regarded as a medium-sized city. According to Yi Qinghan, there are about a dozen Daoyuan-level powerhouses in Sky Crane City's City Lord's mansion, and City Lord Luo Jin even has a strong Daoyuan level 3 cultivation base, and some medium-strength suzerain sect masters nearby. Quite. It is precisely because of this that he can secure his position as the City Lord of Sky Crane City. When Yang Kai and Yi Qinghan arrived at the city gate, they saw the city gate bustling with horses and carriages full of goods, waiting to enter the city. The carriages were full of rare treasures, and Yang Kai even smelled them. The smell of some medicinal herbs and spiritual herbs. And looking at the beaming decorations on the carriages, the goods loaded in these carriages are obviously gifts prepared by some surrounding forces. Sky Crane City is considered a notable force in this 100,000-mile radius. Now that the city lord accepts a concubine, all forces will naturally come to congratulate him. The guards at the city gate also seem to be full of energy and beaming, waiting for each one with a smile, inspecting the goods and letting them go. Yang Kai and Yi Qinghan did not enter the city in a hurry, but stood 100 feet outside the city and waited quietly. Because according to Yi Qinghan, there will be disciples from Cheni Yizong coming later. Yi Qinghan's task of congratulating her was also a coincidence. If she hadn't come back just in time today, she wouldn't have been assigned this annoying task by Yi Hen. After all, she is also the young sect master of Cheni sect, so if she leads the team to congratulate, it is justified in face. After waiting for a while, Yi Qinghan's beautiful eyes suddenly lit up, and she pointed in one direction and said, "Here we come." Yang Kai looked up, and saw a ray of light flying towards this side of the sky, and when he got closer, the light showed its prototype. It was a secret treasure in the shape of a building, and there were a few standing on the building. A well-dressed warrior leaned on the side of the boat and looked around. When he saw Yi Qinghan, he couldn't help grinning and beckoning kindly. Yi Qinghan responded, and a moment later, the boat landed, and the man who had greeted Yi Qinghan flew down, and after everyone else got off the boat, he clasped his hands together and put the boat away. "Yi Zi, you are back. If you don't come back again, I will go to Fenggalan City to find you." The man came directly to Yi Qinghan, looking at him affectionately. His eyes were bright, and he ignored him. The existence of Yang Kai. Senior brother Du Xian. Yi Qinghan blushed from his fiery gaze, lowered her head, looking shy. When Yang Kai took a look, he knew that there must be something between the man and the woman, so he couldn't help smiling. Another man suddenly poked his head out from behind Du Xian, grinning and said, "Senior sister Yi, you don't know, ever since you went to Fenggalan City, our elder brother never thinks about food, even cultivation I have no mind, and I was scolded several times by the old man, the master. I want you to talk more." Du Xian glared at the man, but there was a smile in his eyes. Yi Qinghan pursed her red lips, and said in a low voice, "How can this be? You still have to practice." Du Xian looked at Yi Qinghan affectionately, and said softly, "I have practiced, but I can't calm down, and I always think about someone in my mind." "Want? Who?" Yi Qinghan's delicate body trembled, and the blush on her cheeks became more and more obvious, like a fire. "I miss you." The spooky man interjected again, and said, "Senior sister Yi, junior brother, I miss you so much, I miss you so much, I can't sleep at night." While speaking, he put on an appearance of tossing and turning in pain, which made the other Chenyi sect disciples snicker. Wuma, get the hell out of here. Du Xian suddenly stretched out his hand, looked at the head of the disciple named Wuma, hit him so that his neck shrank, and shouted indignantly, just the state officials set fire, and the people are not allowed lighting the lamp. Is there any law of heaven and king? Senior sister Yi, you have to make the decision for me. Yi Qinghan spat. You deserve it, for making you chatter. Brother should beat you hard. Wuma suddenly looked depressed. Yang Kai watched coldly from the side, and felt that the disciples of Chenyi sect were quite interesting, and they seemed to be very close to each other, so he couldn't help laughing. This made him feel a little bit emotional. In fact, the smaller the sect is, the more cohesive the disciples in the sect are when they encounter a crisis in the sect. Breathe slowly. It seems that Du Xian didn't discover Yang Kai until this time. A look of surprise flashed in his eyes, and he clasped his fist seriously and said, Du Xian of the Chiba sect, I don't know the name of this brother Gao. To be continued, you. Chapter 2294 Humiliation. When Du Xian asked this question, he had a strange expression on his face. He didn't know how Yang Kai, a stranger, stayed with Yi Qinghan, but he didn't show too much hostility. At Ding Dian at Xiaoshuo www. The same is true for other Chenyi sect disciples, they all looked at Yang Kai curiously. Yang Kai smiled slightly, cupped his fists and said, I'm Yang Kai, I've met Brother Du. Yi Qinghan continued, Young Master Yang is an honored guest I invited. He was going back to Zong to meet with Daddy to discuss important matters, but he was assigned by Daddy to come to Sky Crane City on the way, so he had to come first. Here, brothers and sisters, don't be negligent. Her tone was serious, making Yang Kai look like a big shot. Du Xian and the Wuma looked at each other, feeling more and more puzzled. With the release of his divine sense, he found that Yang Kai only had a Daoyuan 2-layer cultivation base, his clothes were not luxurious, and he didn't seem to be a disciple of any great power. How could Yi Qinghan value such a person so much? Although there were doubts in their hearts, the two picked it up and didn't ask any more questions, they just nodded slightly. Since you are here, let's go to the city first. The old man's concubine ceremony is tomorrow, right? Yi Qinghan looked at Du Xian and asked, not intending to explain clearly to her seniors. After all, it is very important for her to ask Yang Kai to go back to repair the cross-boundary space magic circle. The less people know about it, the better. She has not had time to tell Yi Hen about it. Only then did Du Xian withdraw his attention from Yang Kai. His face changed slightly. Yi Zi, be careful. While speaking, he looked left and right. The place where everyone is now is 300 feet outside the city gate. If the people of Sky Crane City listen to his words, it may cause another trouble. Yi Qinghan curled her lips. It's polite to call him an old man, he's buried half his neck in the ground, yet he dares to imitate others and take concubines. I don't know which little girl who doesn't know much about the world has been deceived by him. Wuma smiled wryly and said, it's not necessarily because I was cheated. Maybe it's because I have no choice. These years, the city lord has frequently taken concubines, but he has never had any heirs, and he doesn't know whether he can eat or not. He. Retribution. Yi Qinghan had a dark expression on his face. Du Xian rubbed his forehead and said, okay, don't say a few words, we are here to congratulate this time, not to cause trouble. Before leaving, the master said that we must not provoke you when we come to Sky Crane City this time. What trouble is there, because this time all the surrounding forces will come here. Yi Qinghan pouted and remained silent, with a displeased expression on her face. Du Xian smiled at Yang Kai and said, Brother Yang made a joke. No problem. Yang Kai waved his hand. Pack up and go to the city. Du Xian yelled at the others, and then they adjusted their clothes a little, and walked towards the city gate under his leadership. Chen Yizong's congratulatory gifts are all placed in the space ring, so naturally there is nothing to organize, only those who are eager to curry favor with Luo Jin. Only then will the carriage be used to carry the congratulatory gifts, because in this way others can clearly see what kind of gifts they have given, which will not only satisfy the city lord's mansion but also honor their face. There were a lot of people at the city gate, and the few people from Chen Yizong didn't intend to jump in line, but just lined up quietly, waiting to enter the city. During this period, Yi Qinghan kept apologizing to Yang Kai, lest he would offend him. Others don't know about Yang Kai's methods. Yi Qinghan knew it clearly. The Blood Knife 4 ghosts were annihilated by Yang Kai's army 10 days ago, and the scene of that day is vivid in my mind. If Yang Kai is unwilling to line up and forcefully enter the city, the guards at the city gate will definitely not be able to stop him, but it will definitely bring disaster to Chen Yizong. Fortunately, Yang Kai seemed to be very leisurely, without the slightest irritability. The expressions of Du Xian and Wu Ma became more and more suspicious. They really couldn't understand why Yi Qinghan treated Yang Kai so cautiously, that cautious attitude. It's like getting along with a strong emperor senior realm. The team moved very fast, and within half a cup of tea time, it was the turn of Chen Yizong and others. The martial artist who was in charge of inspecting the goods and people coming and going at the gate of the city grinned when he saw Yi Qinghan, cupped his fists and said, "It turns out that Miss Chen Yizong is here. I'm so sorry, I'm so rude. This person looks ordinary, looks very ordinary, about 40 years old, dressed in extremely festive clothes, with a smile on his face, but that smile gives people a very fake feeling. His strength is not weak, he is at the first level of Daoyuan, and it seems that he also holds an important position in Sky Crane City. It is generally not the turn of this kind of strong man to guard the city gate, but today is different. Warriors from all the surrounding forces will arrive at Sky Crane City in advance today to congratulate. Sky Crane City will naturally send a warrior who can stand on the stage welcome. This person is such a being." Judging from his tone of voice, it was obvious that he knew Yi Qinghan. This is not surprising. According to Yi Qinghan, the reason why the Lord of Tianhe City was able to secure his position was all thanks to Chen Yizong's secret support. There are many intersections. Yi Qinghan, as the daughter of the patriarch of Chenyi sect, is naturally no stranger to this person. Yi Qinghan's face was as cold as ice, and he replied lightly, "Elder Siming has a job, so you don't need to be polite." The middle-aged man named Siming smiled and said, "Thank you, Ms. Yi, for your understanding. It is an honor for Sky Crane City that Ms. Yi can come to the City Lord's concubine ceremony. The City Lord will be happy when he finds out. Please, Ms. Yi." While speaking, he stretched out his hand as a gesture of invitation, and he didn't mean to embarrass Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan naturally refused to be polite to him, and went straight to the city. When Du Xian and the others who followed Yi Qinghan were about to go in, Siming suddenly waved his hand, swayed in front of Du Xian, and said coldly, "What are you doing? What do you want to force your way in? City." Du Xian frowned when he heard this. Yi Qinghan, who was walking ahead, also stopped and turned his head to look back. Siming yelled, "You guys are not cowardly. You want to enter the city without my permission. You don't take my Sky Crane City seriously." Du Xian showed displeasure on his face, and said in a deep voice, "Elder Siming, are you dizzy or really blind? Didn't you see that we came with the young sect master? You kids still dare to curse." Siming was furious, and snorted, "Believe it or not, I'll take you down right now." Du Xian narrowed his eyes, and said with a sneer, "Elder Siming, what's the meaning of this?" Siming snorted and said, "What do you mean?" Du Xian took a deep breath, calmed down the anger in his heart, and said, "I was ordered by my master to come to congratulate Lord Luo. Why did Elder Siming stop us in front of the city gate to make me laugh? Are you also here to congratulate?" Siming seemed taken aback, looked Du Xian up and down, curled his lips and said, "Which sect is dressed so poorly? You, don't be shameless, you old man." Wu Ma was furious when he heard this. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that they came with Yi Qinghan, and they were all disciples of Chenyi sect. However, Siming put on a look of not knowing him, not only stopped Du Xian and the others but also ridiculed him with a stick and a gun. Obviously to make Chiba Zong look good. Seeing this scene, the martial artists waiting in line behind to enter the city all understood and whispered for a while. Those voices of discussion fell into the ears of the Chenyi sect members, making all of them pale and ugly. The few people were just ordered to congratulate, but they encountered such humiliation at the city gate. No one could swallow this breath. Several Chenyi sect disciples were surging with energy, as if they were going to fight. Here one meaning. Siming jumped back immediately, and said vigilantly, "What do you guys want to do? Rebel, this is Sky Crane City, not your wilderness, where even a local turtle would dare to act recklessly here." As soon as he yelled, the way he did it made all the warriors in the rear chuckle. They all knew that the old man was pretending to be crazy and slapped Chen Yizong in the face in public, but Chen Yizong was powerless to fight back. "Elder Siming." Yi Qinghan looked at him with a cold face, and said, "Elder Siming is not so forgetful, is he? He can't even recognize the sign of my Chenyi sect. Do you want my father to come here by himself? Explain to you?" When Siming heard this, he showed a look of astonishment, looked at Yi Qinghan and said, "Miss Yi means He turned his head to look at Du Xian and the others, and suddenly saw the Chiba logo on the clothes of Du Xian and the others. He slapped his forehead and said with a sneer, "Oh, Miss Yi, forgive me, I really didn't notice it. It turns out that these few are all talented people of the Chenyi sect. Looking at their virtues, I thought they were from that place, cough cough." He pretended to wake up like a dream, and apologized to Yi Qinghan for a while, as if it was true that he found out that Du Xian and others were all disciples of Chenyi sect. HMPH. Yi Qinghan was really pissed off, her pretty face turned blue and red, but she couldn't let it out, she almost vomited blood depressed. Since they are all talents of the Chenyi sect, they can enter the city after registration. It's my negligence. Don't be offended. Simming had a bright smile on his face, and he cupped his hands at Du Xian and the others. Register. Register what? Yi Qinghan was taken aback upon hearing this. Simming smiled and said, "Name, sect affiliation, very simple things. Ms. Yi also knows that tomorrow is the city lord's concubine gift, which is of great importance, so not all cats and dogs can enter the city in the past few days, but everyone who enters the city must register for inspection." Yi Qinghan said coldly, "Why didn't those people register before I met?" Simming smiled and said, "Miss Yi Mingjian, those people. I recognize them all, and knowing their origins, naturally there is no need to register." "You mean, you don't recognize people from my Chenyiizong?" Yi Qinghan gritted her silver teeth, her pretty face turned angry. Simming made things difficult for Chenyiizong again and again, which made her very sad. It's anger. I didn't want to come to Tianhe City to participate in any concubine ceremony, but now that I do it like this, I feel even more repelled. What made her even more angry was that Simming was deliberately humiliating Chenyiizong in front of many people. To be continued. Chapter 2295. Just kidding. Phone reading. Miss Yi, don't embarrass me. I am also following orders. Pinshu.com www. VODTW. COM Marshmallow Fiction Network Myeonwatang.cc is updated quickly, the website pages are clean and there are few advertisements. My favorite. This kind of website must be well received. Simming had a smile on his face, and said in an official tone, "If you enter the city without registering, and let the city lord know and blame you, I can't bear it." "Okay, very good." Yi Qinghan couldn't bear it any longer, and laughed angrily. "Sky Crane City, I have made a note of it. This city, doesn't matter if you don't enter it, let's go, senior brother." Hearing what she said, Simming not only didn't show any fear, but laughed more and more heartily. Yi Qinghan has already turned around. Looking at that posture, it seems that she really wants to leave this place. Du Xian grabbed her arm, shook his head slowly at her, and signaled her to stay calm. This time Luojan's taking a concubine was just a ceremony, but the guests from all over the world involved almost all the forces in the surrounding 100,000-mile boundary. If it wasn't for the excuse and reason for Sky Crane City and Chenyiizong's quarrel, Yi Hen would not have told Du Xian and the others to endure the humiliation before leaving. After all, Du Xian is more mature and prudent. When he saw Simming smiling so happily, he knew there was a fraud. Maybe Simming wanted Chenyiizong to go back to his home, so that Sky Crane City and Chenyiizong could be completely broken. Realizing this, how could Du Xian do what he wished? After pulling Yi Qinghan, his lips twitched, as if a few words were transmitted through voice. Yi Qinghan's chest rose and fell in anger, she gritted her teeth, and was silent for a while before nodding bitterly. Du Xian smiled slightly, cupped his fists and said, "Elder Si Ming, I just need to register, right?" Simming frowned, and replied, "It's reads." "That's easy." Du Xian nodded, walked straight to the side, and wrote down his name and sect affiliation on the Yinhong registration book. With him taking the lead, the other Chenyi sect disciples stepped forward one by one even though they felt depressed. A scene that made the disciples of Chenyi sect even more irritated appeared. The names and sect affiliations written on the registration book were full of unworthy families and sect forces. No sect with a little power would be required to do this. Chiba sect was the first one. In other words, the level of Chenyiizong was forced to be leveled by Simming to the same level as those small families and small forces. Read the full text of the latest chapter. Despite the anger in their hearts, everyone in Chenyi sect still endured. Not long after, several people have registered. When it was Yang Kai's turn, Yi Qinghan's beautiful eyes flickered, and she looked at him with some concern. Seeing that Yang Kai also came to the table, he wrote down his name with a pen. She couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. She was really afraid that Yang Kai would not cooperate before, so she walked away. "Wait a minute," Siming suddenly shouted, looking at Yang Kai with burning eyes. Looking at him up and down, he said, "My friend looks very unfamiliar, are you also from the Chenyi sect?" Yang Kai grinned and said, "Yes." Siming snorted coldly. "My friend, you should think carefully about this before answering. Tianhe City is heavily guarded now. If a friend wants to sneak into the city under the name of Chenyizong, I must have a good chat with you." Yang Kai raised his eyebrows and smiled. "How can Elder Siming be sure that I am not from the Chenyi sect? Could it be that you know everyone in the Chenyi sect?" Siming said, "Although I dare not say that I know everyone. But I have seen most of them, especially those with your cultivation level." Yang Kai said strangely, "Elder Siming's words are puzzling, since he recognizes most people with my level of cultivation. Then why didn't he recognize Brother Du Xian and Du before? Brother Du is the big brother of our sect, see there is no reason not to recognize it." Du Xian sneered at the side, and said, "I'm also very curious, although I haven't talked to Elder Siming before, but at least I have met him twice, why did Elder Siming pretend not to recognize him just now?" Siming coughed lightly, wiping the cold sweat off his head embarrassingly, he said, "Didn't you see clearly before? It seems that Elder Siming has an eye disease. It's time to get it treated. Otherwise, he will die soon." Du Xian said with a gun and a stick, sarcasm. Siming's face changed slightly. He said, "However, there is no sign of the disciple of Chenyi sect on your clothes, how can this be explained?" "The city lord takes a concubine, I specially changed into a new set of clothes to show my sincerity, I haven't had time to embroider the logo on it yet." Yang Kai grinned and said, "Nonsense. This explanation is probably unsatisfactory." Siming sneered. "Siming, what on earth do you mean?" Seeing Siming grabbing Yang Kai, Yi Qinghan became anxious. Yang Kai was the one who asked her to come back to repair the cross-boundary space magic circle, and it was related to the rise of Chenyizong. How can you not pay attention? What's more, Yang Kai himself is also very powerful, if he is offended, blood will flow from this city gate. So when Yi Qinghan saw that the situation was wrong, she immediately stood up, glared at Siming aggressively, and said, "How many times have you made things difficult for me, do you think I, Chenyizong, are easy to bully? Ben Gong and others came here to congratulate Luo Jin, but you stopped us here and repeatedly made things difficult. If we leave here, no one will say that it is not my Chenyizong but that Tianhe City has neglected the guests." Siming frowned. He didn't know what Yi Qinghan was doing to make such a fuss. When he was embarrassing Du Xian and others just now, she didn't seem to be so impatient. Now she directly called out the names of herself and the city lord. Without the slightest respect, it can be seen that he has no patience. Thinking of this, Siming said with a sneer, "Miss Yi, please be safe and don't be impatient. I am also acting cautiously. I just want to chat with this friend. Either let us go, or we leave, I'll give you 3 breaths, you choose." Yi Qinghan looked at Siming coldly with a livid face. Siming's face changed slightly, although he also hoped that Chenyizong and others would leave directly, so that Sky Crane City could find an excuse to completely cut off from Chenyizong and annex many of Chenyizong's properties in the city, but inexplicably, it feels a little wrong, and there is a feeling that if you tear your face here, something bad will happen. This feeling made his heart skip a beat. I wonder who is so arrogant, it turns out to be easy. At this moment, the voice of a person suddenly came from not far away, and with the sound, a stream of light came, and the light flashed away, revealing the figures of 3 people. The 3 were 2 old men and 1 young man. The 2 elders both have the cultivation base of the 3rd level of Daoyuan, their cheekbones are high and raised, their eyes are restrained, and their expressions are not angry and majestic. They have superb cultivation at first glance, and the young man is about 30 or so, and he is on the 1st level of Daoyuan. The cultivation base of the environment, the raw lips are red and the teeth are white, the jade tree is facing the wind, holding a folding fan in his hand, shaking it gently, and it is extremely romantic. Chu Yu. As soon as Du Xian saw this person, his expression became condensed, with a serious look on his face, as if the other party had a lot of background, and the tone of the other parties addressing Yi Qinghan made him even more upset. Chu Yu's expression turned cold, and he looked at Du Xian and said, "You can call me whatever you like, clap your mouth." As soon as this remark came out, all the warriors outside the city opened their mouths wide, with horrified expressions on their faces. After all, Du Xian is also a strong person at the 2nd level of Daoyuan, but he was about to be slapped just because he called the opponent's name. Under the watchful eyes of all the people, if Du Xian was really punished like this, then even if Du Xian's heart of martial arts did not collapse, he would have no face to see people again in the future. Hearing these words, the faces of the Chenny sect disciples also changed drastically, and they were all motivated by their source of energy, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. While everyone was horrified, Chu Yu laughed and said, "Just kidding, brother Du, don't be nervous." Du Xian's expression changed in an instant, and it was brilliant. Deep down in his heart, he was furious, but he was helpless. After all, the other party had two Daoyuan three-layer powerhouses by his side. Only Chiba sect. Chu Yu ignored Du Xian, but looked at Yi Qinghen with burning eyes, and said politely, "Yeji, long time no see, your style is even better than before." At this moment, the demeanor was in sharp contrast with the previous arrogant and domineering, which made everyone surprised for a while, wondering if this is still a person. "You are still as annoying as before," Yi Qinghen sneered. As soon as he said that, the eyes of the two old men who were following Chu Yu suddenly revealed their eyes, and too strong coercion enveloped Yi Qinghen. Yi Qinghen couldn't help but groan, his face paled. "Second elder, stop readings." Chu Yu's complexion changed drastically, and he sternly shouted. Only then did the two old men who followed him put away their coercion. "You two old guys, how dare you do that?" Chu Yu turned around and scolded the two old men. "What should I do if I hurt Yi Zi? Next time, if you don't dare to take action without my order, you don't have to do it again. Follow me. Young master, forgive me." After being reprimanded like this, the two old men were not at all annoyed, they just lowered their heads and admitted their mistake, which made people look surprised again and again. "Yi Zi, are you okay?" Chu Yu looked at Yi Qinghen with concern. Yi Qinghen took a deep breath, gritted his teeth and said, "Take care of your old dogs, don't let them bite people." Chu Yu smiled slightly, put away the folding fan in his hand, tapped Yi Qinghen a few times, and said, "I just like your straightforward character. But you are annoying. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter." Chu Yu smiled lightly, "I believe that sincerity will make gold and stone open. Stop dreaming about your spring and autumn dreams. Even if you are the only man left in the world, I won't even look at you." Yi Qinghen sneered again and again. Chu Yu's complexion changed slightly, and he smiled carefreely, no longer entangled with her, but looked at Siming and said, "What did you do just now, to provoke Yi Zi into a rage?" Siming seemed to be extremely afraid of Chu Yu, and wiped his cold sweat when he heard this, and said, "It's nothing, it's just a routine. HMPH, hurry up and make amends to Yi Zi." Chu Yu snorted softly. Upon hearing this, Siming immediately ran up to Yi Qinghen, and said in a low voice, "Siming has offended you so much earlier, please don't remember the faults of a villain, Miss Yi, and don't blame her." Yi Qinghen glanced at him, waved his hands dully and said, "Elder Siming also has responsibilities, so let's forget about it." "Thank you, Ms. Yi." Siming felt as if he had been pardoned. To be continued. P.S. It's so hot early in the morning, how can I live? Chapter 2296 Heart Palpitations. Phone reading. Getting together is worse than meeting by chance. Yi Zi, how about going to the city together? I just got a pot of high-quality carbon blood black tea this month, and I am worried that I can't find someone to taste it. Can you show me your face? Chu Yu turned around and looked at it with a smile. Looking at Yi Qinghen, he sent out an invitation. Yi Qinghen said coldly, "The way is different, not for conspiracy." After saying that, she greeted Du Xian and the others, "Brother, let's go." Du Xian nodded lightly, like a general who has won a battle, and smiled at Chu Yu. "Young Master Chu, keep that black tea and drink it slowly, don't choke." "Hee, thank you Brother Du for your concern." Chu Yu replied with a smile without being annoyed. Not long after, Chen Yizong and others entered the city together. Chu Yu also seemed to feel a little bored, and led the two old men into the city, disappearing into the crowd. "Then what is Chu Yu's background? It looks amazing." Entering the city, Yang Kai asked curiously. Yi Qinghen sighed, and replied, "He is the young master of Tianzhou Palace. Tianzhou Palace has always been at odds with me, Chen Yizong, and has always wanted to exclude us, but there is no chance. But I heard that Chu, the master of Tianzhou Palace, Zi is retreating to attack the Emperor Senior Realm, if he can really succeed." Speaking of this, Yi Jinghen showed worry. Du Shandao, Sky Crane City and Tianzhou Palace are also in collusion now. If Chu Zi is really promoted to Emperor Senior Realm, then the future prospects of my Chenny sect will be worrying. Hearing this, Yang Kai suddenly became enlightened, realizing that Sky Crane City's new backer is probably Tianzhou Palace. Wuma said, "It's not so easy to break through the Emperor Prestige realm, maybe that old man Chuzi went mad and died at the breakthrough point." Everyone could hear that this was his curse, but since Chuzi dared to attack the Emperor Senior realm, that must be certain. If the breakthrough is successful, Chen Yizong will really be in trouble. Master has his own consideration on this matter, we just have to do our own thing well. Seeing that the brothers and sisters were not in a good mood, Du Xian quickly comforted him. Sky Crane City. In front of a shop called Sky Puppet Building, several people from Chen Yizong stopped. Yi Qinghan explained to Yang Kai, "This is the biggest property of my Chenyi sect in Tianhe City. If young Master Yang doesn't dislike it, he can stay here for 2 days. After the concubine ceremony tomorrow, the concubine will accompany Yang. Do not return to the sect." Yes. Yang Kai looked at the magnificently built and luxuriously decorated Sky Puppet Tower. Nodded slightly. It can be seen that this day's puppet building must have had a hot business before, because such a shop was built in such a prime location, the business must not be much worse, and it is very likely that there will be a lot of people. The merchants coming and going are like crucian carp crossing the river. It's a pity that time has passed, and now the puppet building is empty, the inside is empty, only some goods are placed on the shelves, covered with dust, and a young boy who looks like a sophomore is taking a nap behind the counter, and he doesn't know what he dreamed of. It's a good thing, and I keep making silly laughter. Saliva flowed down the corners of his mouth. This business is very shabby. Yang Kai sighed. Yi Qinghan smiled wryly. If there are some vicious guys blocking the front of any shop every day, using the signboard of the city lord's mansion to put pressure on the passing customers, I'm afraid no one will come to buy things. Listen to what she said. Only then did Yang Kai realize that not far from the front of the Sky Puppet Tower, there were a few strong men with ferocious faces staring at the door of the Sky Puppet Tower with sneers, as if they were ready to act at any time, but when they saw Yi Qinghan and the others had the Chiba sect logo on their clothes, but their expressions changed slightly. Averted his eyes. Yang Kai chuckled. Your sect's messing around in Tianhe City is too unsatisfactory. Yi Qinghan's complexion darkened. The situation is not as good as others. Young Master Yang, please come inside. Yang Kai nodded slightly, and walked into the shop under the leadership of Yi Qinghan. Du Xian, Wuma and others, look at me. I look at you, you are all confused. Along the way, they could also see that Yi Qinghan seemed to attach great importance to Yang Kai, and regarded him as a guest, respectful and polite everywhere, but no matter how they looked at it, Yang Kai was just a Dao source second level, he is only a martial artist of the same level. I really don't understand what ability he has that makes Yi Qinghan treat him so carefully. But at this moment it was obviously not the time to ask more questions. Several people entered the shop. Wuma strode forward, rushed to the counter and knocked a few times to wake up the sleeping waiter. The second brother should also be a disciple of Chenyi sect, but his cultivation base is not high and his status is very low. When he saw Yi Qinghan and others, he was scared out of his wits, his face turned pale, and he kept bowing his head to admit his mistake. Yi Qinghan waved impatiently and said, ask your shopkeeper to arrange a few rooms to come out. Yes, I'll go and call the shopkeeper, miss. Please sit down for a while. The younger brother ran to the back hall as if he had been pardoned. After a while, a half-grown old man quickly walked out from the back hall, came to Yi Qinghan and the others, saluted and bowed, and brought them to the back hall to settle down. The concubinage ceremony will be held tomorrow, so there is nothing to do today. After Yi Qinghan settled Yang Kai properly, she returned to her own room, waited quietly for a while, and then heard a soft knock on the door. She moved lightly, opened the door, and saw Du Xian standing at the door with a bright smile on his face, blushed immediately, shyly welcomed him into the room, talking softly. In the wing room, Yang Kai meditated and rested. This trip to Tianhe City with Yi Qinghan was just a coincidence, so he just came and made peace with it. But I don't know why, today he is always a little restless, as if something is going to happen in the dark, which makes him unable to settle down at all. This is the first time that this situation will happen, and Yang Kai has never encountered such a thing when he was practicing before. He didn't dare to be careless, and used his spiritual thoughts to examine himself over and over again, lest there would be hidden dangers or breed demons if he didn't practice properly. But no matter how many times I checked, I didn't find any problems. On the contrary, the feeling of restlessness became more and more serious. He frowned and thought, and found that this feeling seemed to have appeared since he entered Sky Crane City. It seemed that there was something that affected him in this Sky Crane City. This feeling was inexplicable, but Yang Kai didn't dare to be careless in the slightest. If his cultivation had reached his level, if there was no external interference, it would be impossible to shake his inner peace. He couldn't understand it, sighed helplessly, and stood up. I wanted to say hello to Yi Qinghan and tell her to go out for a walk and relax, but I didn't want him to let go of his spiritual thoughts, so he noticed that Yi Qinghan and Du Xian were in the side room where you were talking to each other. Suddenly his face was black. The two of them didn't do anything too outrageous, but Du Xian held Yi Qinghan's jade hand, stared at her affectionately, and talked about the pain of lovesickness, while Yi Qinghan lowered his head and blushed. Red, the slender neck is pink, with a luster like porcelain. Yang Kai quickly withdrew his spiritual sense, fearing that he would grow a needle's eye if he watched it any longer. Without saying a word to anyone else, Yang Kai left the Sky Puppet Tower in a flash, and appeared on the bustling street the next moment. The scale of Tianhe City in the entire southern region can be regarded as a medium-sized city, so whether it is the overall layout or the size, it is not comparable to Fenggalan City, which is enough to accommodate 8 horses. There is an endless stream of Crucian carp crossing the river. There are many shops on both sides of the street, and the sound of shouting is one after another. Perhaps it was because tomorrow was the day when the city lord took concubines, so the whole Sky Crane City looked joyful, with lights and festoons everywhere, and it was very lively. Those warriors were also full of joy, and they didn't know what they were happy about. Yang Kai drifted with the crowd, and after a short while came to a restaurant. Seeing that it was full of guests, he turned around and walked into the restaurant. Immediately, an enthusiastic waiter greeted him. This waiter is also a martial artist, but his cultivation base is not high, only the level of the Holy Realm. With a smile on his face, he bowed to Yang Kai and said, "Please, my lord. It looks rather unfamiliar. I don't know if your lord is here to meet friends or drink alone." Yang Kai glanced at him and said with a smile, "I'm alone." The shop clerk smiled knowingly, and said, "I understand, my lord, sit here." While speaking, he led Yang Kai up to the 3rd floor, arranged him on a table by the window, and said with a smile, "My lord, would you like something to eat and drink?" It's not a small brag, the entire Sky Crane City there are really not many that can compare to our restaurant. The ingredients used in our restaurant are all fresh monster materials, spirit flowers and fruits, which are as cultivated as adults, and can be improved by eating them all year round. Consolidate the foundation. If you have the opportunity, you may be able to break through and be promoted on the spot. This has happened several times in our restaurant. Oh, Yang Kai raised his eyebrows, looking a little surprised, and said with a smile, "Then you think I should eat and drink with my cultivation base?" The waiter in the shop smiled. "My lord, you can see that you are a strong person in the Daoyuan realm. Naturally, you should use the best ingredients and the best wine. If you are accompanied by a beautiful woman, the red sleeves will add fragrance, tisk tisk, that would be the best. The waiter in this shop has been sending us here all year round, and it seems that he has developed a pair of piercing eyes. Even if he is only at the Saint realm, he can see that Yang Kai is a powerhouse at the Dao Source realm level, and he can speak well with a mouth, and he is long. Pleasing to the eye, very pleasing." Yang Kai smiled and said, "Okay, you arrange it for me." When the shop waiter heard this, he immediately beamed with joy, and said, "I will definitely satisfy my lord. If not, my lord can take apart the small bones and make stew." Yang Kai nodded and said, "Okay, if there is any dissatisfaction, I will do as you wish." The shop clerk had a black line on his face, and said, "The little one will do his best." While speaking, he immediately retreated, as if it was arranged. While waiting, Yang Kai sat by the window, looking at the scenery below, and found it quite interesting. The depression of the past few days has also been swept away, and the previous uneasy feeling seems to have disappeared. To be continued. Chapter 2297 Restaurant Disturbance. Phone reading. Not only that, but he suddenly felt light all over his body. His whole body suddenly became refreshed, energetic, and the source power in his body flowed more and more rapidly. Pinshu.com www. vodtw. com Xiao Shuo first published. Realizing this, Yang Kai was slightly taken aback, but quickly realized that this should be due to some breakthroughs in his state of mind. He immediately beamed with joy. It seems that choosing to go shopping is really a wise decision. If he had been meditating and cultivating in the sky puppet building before, he might have gotten into a dead end, and there would never be such an opportunity. After a short wait, the waiter in the shop brought good food and wine. Although the waiter in the shop was suspected of bragging, the food and drinks in this restaurant are really good. All the ingredients are not ordinary things, and they contain great energy. Taking it, theory can improve cultivation. However, this kind of improvement is very small, not as solid and pure as hard training. Therefore, warriors generally would not choose this method to improve their cultivation, not to mention spending a lot of source crystals here every day, and the growth they get is extremely limited. It is better to meditate and practice honestly. But Yang Kai didn't mean to be serious with the shop boy. He praised him a few words, rewarded him with some source crystals, and then let him retreat, sitting there alone drinking. The third floor of the restaurant was also full of guests, either in groups of 3 or 5, or in pairs, and there were not many tables for people like Yang Kai who were alone. When these people drink, they are naturally talking about the customs of various places, and hearing strange things. Yang Kai heard it, but also felt a little interesting. I don't know what's going on, maybe it's because of the man's true nature. While talking about this topic, he talked about the new concubine that the city lord Luo Jin was going to take in. Speaking of our city lord, despite his age, he has enjoyed all the blessings in the world. That's right, the city lord has 14 concubines, counting tomorrow's one. But there are 15, and I don't know if the city lord can keep up with his energy, ha 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 ha. It's extremely cruel for a beauty to guard the empty boudoir alone. If Mr. Luo can't spread the rain and dew evenly, the harem of the city lord's mansion is going to be a mess. What? Listening to the meaning of such brother's words, what do you think? Hey, don't you dare, I'm just talking casually. It's a pity to hear your tone. I thought you wanted to replace the old man, If there is such an opportunity, it might as well give it a try. As the saying goes, if you die under the peony flower, you can be a ghost even if you die. Did you two drink too much? You don't know how to speak. Be careful that the walls have ears, and the trouble comes out of your mouth. Someone suddenly snorted coldly and reminded him secretly. The expressions of the two people who were talking loudly changed when they heard the words, and they both said in a friendly voice, "It's true that I drank a little too much." What did I say earlier? No, I didn't say anything. Come, drink. For a while, the topic was suddenly changed. But after a while, another human said, "Speaking of which, the 14 wives of Lord City Lord seem to be all beautiful, and they are all over the world. To be a man like Lord Luo, I really have no regrets in this life. Who would let someone be the lord of the city? But from what you said, it seems that you have seen the wives of the city lords before." That's right, the city lord hid those wives in the city lord's mansion. Even when he went out, he would face each other with a black veil, shielding his face, and guarding the way. How did your friends meet? The man smiled slightly. He said, "Hey, I don't have such a good fortune. It's just that I have a niece who works as a servant in the city lord's mansion, serving those wives of the city lord personally and listening to what she says. Those wives of the city lord are all inverting the colors of all living beings, especially the newcomer, the wife of the city lord, seems to be particularly outstanding, quite a favorite of the city lord." Oh, even the information about the wife of the new city lord. Come on, tell me, what does she look like? Exactly, it's fine for me to wait. The man smiled slightly and said, "Of course it doesn't matter if you talk about it, but I'm just paying for this table of wine. I'll pack it for you, shower, and bring me some jugs of the best wine." Someone suddenly shouted. The man smiled and cupped his fists, and said, "My friend is refreshing. Since that's the case, then I'll talk about it casually." When he was speaking, he wiped his mouth and described the appearance of the new city lord's wife. This eloquence is also very good. After talking about it, everyone seemed to be able to see a graceful, charming, and flirtatious. The woman walked towards her slowly from the void. All of them showed lustful expressions for a moment, and several of them almost drooled. HMPH. At this moment, someone suddenly snorted heavily, and slammed the wine glass in his hand on the table, making a loud noise. Everyone's daydreaming was interrupted, and they all looked at that person angrily. Yang Kai was also listening very hard. When he noticed the movement, he quickly looked towards the source of the sound, and suddenly saw a wholesale brawny man sitting alone at a table, reeking of alcohol, with a ferocious expression on his face. Scanning his spiritual mind, Yang Kai found that this person was only at the third level of the Void King, and he seemed to have been injured not long ago. Black pupils, only by Ren, combined with his ferocious and rough appearance, made people shudder. For some unknown reason, the one-eyed burly man had an angry look on his face, the jug was crushed in his hands, and the fragrant wine slid down his fingers. I don't know who it is, so it's Brother Shoshin Huchai. The person who spoke earlier chuckled, then patted his own mouth after speaking, and said, no, it should be, the one-eyed tiger. Ha 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 ha. He made no effort to hide his sarcasm and ridicule, and the others also laughed, as if this man surnamed Chai was not pleasant. Brother Chai, I'm fine. Who poked your eyes blind? The man asked again after laughing. Chai who snorted and didn't intend to answer. He just sat there with a ferocious expression, rolled one eye and stared at the man. Don't talk nonsense here, or I'll tear your mouth apart. The man's complexion changed, and he said in a low voice, what nonsense are you talking about? What do you mean by that? Chai who said, that girl, is not what you said. Which girl? The man frowned, but quickly reacted, narrowing his eyes and said, Chai who, don't you mean, the new wife of the city lord? Chai who snorted coldly, picked up the wine glass on the table, and drank it down in one gulp. The man said stubbornly, look at what you mean, have you seen the wife of the city lord? Chai whose hands paused, and the only remaining one eye showed a look of memory, but it disappeared for a moment, and said coldly, why do you need to ask more questions? The man was stunned for a moment, and suddenly smiled and clapped his hands again and said, I know why your eyes are blind. He paused for a while, and then laughed loudly, you must be peeking at the new city lord's wife. Get out of the bath and be stabbed blind by her. As soon as the words came out, everyone burst into laughter. But Chai who got up abruptly, directly lifted the table, while his figure was swaying, like a tiger descending the mountain, he rushed in front of the man, suddenly a machete appeared in his hand, and slashed at the man. I don't know if these words touched Chai Hu's inverse scales. At this moment, Chai Hu's murderous intent was as strong as his body, and the man was so frightened that he hurriedly used his kung fu to resist. Both of them are at the third level of the Void King, so the power caused by such a desperate effort is not small. I saw that the air wave rolled and the holy yuan surged, and all the tables on the third floor were blown out at once, even the restaurant shook and almost collapsed. The shopkeeper of the restaurant heard the movement and hurried over. He saw the two people fighting to the death, his face turned pale with fright, and kept begging for them to go outside the city to fight to the death. But where did the two listen? Yang Kai shook his head, with a helpless look on his face, reached out to grab the wine glass on the table, drank the fine wine, left some source crystals, and left the restaurant in a flash, walking among the crowd. Fighting among warriors is extremely common. Every warrior is the master who licks blood on the edge of a knife. Today, one of Chai Hu and the other may die because of this fight, but this is also theirs, destiny. Yang Kai is not going to pay attention to it. He originally wanted to go straight back to the Sky Puppet Tower, but when he passed by a pharmacy, he suddenly stopped, and then Shi Shiren walked in. This pharmacy should be owned by the Ziwen Chamber of Commerce, because the signboard at the entrance of the store bears the logo of the Ziwen Chamber of Commerce. He wanted to take this opportunity to purchase some herbs. Recently, the pills in his hands have been consumed a lot. Although there are quite a lot of materials in the space ring, if he wants to make pills, he needs to supplement them with other materials. And these materials can only be purchased. The scale of Ziwen Chamber of Commerce's medicine store in Tianhe City is much larger than that of Fenggalan City's Spirit Pill Workshop, and the goods are also sufficient. Accompanied by a shop waiter, Yang Kai bought a lot of medicinal materials that he thought he would use. The waiter in the shop was very happy, and secretly felt that he met the god of wealth, and he became more and more respectful and accompanied him, and he was very considerate. It took an hour of effort before Yang Kai finished shopping, and asked the waiter to pack all the goods and go to the counter to pay. The shopkeeper seemed to know that he met the patron, and his smile was very kind. While counting the price, the light at the door dimmed and someone walked in. The shopkeeper raised his head and said in surprise, "It turns out that Miss Luo is here, and the villain is being rude." Hearing this, Yang Kai's expression suddenly changed, and he secretly felt that Miss Luo, the shopkeeper, might be the daughter of Luo Jin, the lord of Sky Crane City. Because the two have the same surname, and the only ones who can get such attention from the shopkeeper are people from the city lord's mansion. The shopkeeper is also a member of the Ziwen Chamber of Commerce, so it is impossible for him to treat guests with no status so seriously. He looked back in good spirits, and saw a girl with exquisite figure and strange clothes, walked in from the outside with a smile on her face, and waved her hand. "The shopkeeper is busy, I'm just here for a stroll. Miss Luo, please come." The shopkeeper smiled slightly. To be continued. XH 118. Chapter 2298. The girl went straight in, and beside the girl, was accompanied by a young man. The young man had red lips and white teeth, a jade tree facing the wind, holding a folding fan in his hand, with a suave appearance. When Yang Kai and his four eyes met, Chu Yu was slightly taken aback, and then smiled. "It's you." Yang Kai covered his face with his hands, turned sideways and said, "It's not me, you've got the wrong person." Chu Yu was stunned, not knowing what Yang Kai was going to do. Operator. The girl also looked at Yang Kai curiously, looked at Chu Yu and asked, "Brother Yu, do you recognize this person?" Chu Yu chuckled lightly. "I know him, but I'm not familiar with him." "Oh." The girl nodded, with a big la-la look, patted Yang Kai's shoulder, and said, "Hey you guy, Brother Yu is talking to you, how dare you ignore it?" Yang Kai moved his shoulders, put her hands aside, and said impatiently at her, "Your family has never taught you whether men and women can kiss each other. What do you want to do by patting someone on the shoulder casually on the street?" The girl blushed, gritted her teeth and said, "You still dare to teach me a lesson?" Chu Yu smiled and said, "Sister Bing doesn't need to be as knowledgeable as him. This person seems to be sneaky all the time. He was also at the city gate before. He sneaked into the city under the name of Chen Yizong, and he doesn't know what he wants to do. Is he in the same group as the Chenny sect?" Luo Bing's face sank when he heard this, as if he didn't have a good impression of Chenny sect. "Exactly." Chu Yu nodded slightly. Luo Bing immediately said, "That must be some kind of unscrupulous attempt. You bastard, tell me clearly, what exactly do you want to do by sneaking into the city? Is there some kind of conspiracy?" She actually questioned Yang Kai directly. Yang Kai was speechless, staring at her, thinking that this little girl must be spoiled. Some are ignorant of the world. With a thought, Yang Kai sneered. Luo Bing said in disgust, "It's so disgusting to laugh, why don't you tell me quickly, what do you want to do when you come to the city?" Yang Kai kept laughing lewdly, and said, "What else can I do? I heard that there are countless beauties in Tianhe City, so naturally they are here to steal jade and fragrance. Especially some young girls with fresh and tender skin are just right for my appetite." While talking, he also took a deep breath, pretending to be intoxicated, and then said, "Smell it, it is fragrant, lick it, it is delicious, tisk tisk." Luo Bing was startled, his little face turned pale, and he couldn't help but took a few steps back. "I couldn't say a word, as if I was really scared." Chu Yu frowned, stepped in front of Luo Bing, and snorted coldly, "Friends, be careful, you must know that you can eat indiscriminately, but you can't speak indiscriminately, some words will kill people." Yang Kai chuckled, shrugged and said, "You all insisted that I sneaked into the city for some purpose. I will cooperate." Luo Bing also came back to his senses at this time, and jumped out from behind Chu Yu. Zhao shouted, "You dare to scare me? Do you know who I am?" Yang Kai glanced at her and said disgustedly, "I don't know, don't bother me, it's annoying." "You told me to ignore him." Luo Bing's beautiful eyes widened, and her breasts heaved with anger. She was born as the daughter of the Lord of Sky Crane City. She has a respectable status, a wealthy family, and outstanding looks. Since she grew up, she has been surrounded by men who pursue her, just like Chu Yu from Tianzhou Palace who always accompanied her every time she came to Sky Crane City. She never leaves her every step of the way, like a flower protector, and Luo Jin treats her with whatever she wants, and can satisfy any wish. She has always lived in an environment surrounded by stars, held in the palm of everyone's hands, and she has never been so disgusted by any man. For a moment, feeling aggrieved in his heart, he stomped his feet and said, You. I want you to look good." Yang Kai heard the words, his complexion sank. Although he is not afraid of Sky Crane City, if there is any conflict with Luo Bing, Chen Yizong and others may be involved, which is not what he wants to see. Luo Bing yelled, already made 3 steps and made 2 steps, and rushed to Yang Kai, looking up at her slender and fair neck, staring at her viciously. Yang Kai was vigilant, but saw her turn her head, pointing at the goods on the counter and said to the shopkeeper, "He bought these things, right?" Hearing the words, the shopkeeper nodded subconsciously and said, "Exactly." "Very good." Luo Bing gritted his teeth and said, Miss Ben wants all these things, and I'm not allowed to sell any of them to him. Yang Kai suddenly had a black line on his face. Chu Yu was also stunned, thinking to himself, this is how you want to make him look good. Is this a little too far-fetched? The shopkeeper showed a look of embarrassment, and said, Miss Luo, these items were purchased by this customer, and the small prices have already been paid out. Luo Bing said, have you delivered it yet? The shopkeeper hesitated and said, not yet. That's fine, I want everything. Luo Bing snorted hot air from his nostrils, and looked at Yang Kai triumphantly, with a posture of, you dare to fight with me. Yang Kai had a speechless expression, feeling more and more that this little girl was spoiled, and she didn't even know how to use it to get angry. The shopkeeper took a deep breath and said, Miss Luo, this customer bought these goods. If he insists on buying them, I will have to sell them to him, so I'm afraid I can't meet your request. What? Luo Bing's small face suddenly elongated, staring at the shopkeeper, and said, did you not hear what I just said clearly? The shopkeeper said indifferently, small shops have their own rules, please forgive me, Miss Luo. Although this shop is not big, it is still owned by the Ziwen Chamber of Commerce and represents the Ziwen Chamber of Commerce. Therefore, even if Luo Bing is the daughter of the city lord, the shopkeeper is not too afraid, let alone offend others because of her. Guests, ruin the reputation of Ziwen Chamber of Commerce. As for offending the lady of the city lord's mansion because of this, I have to settle it with my superiors. Besides, if Luo Jin knows the reason of the matter, I am afraid that he will not come to embarrass this shop. Luo Bing suddenly flushed with anger. Seeing this, Chu Yu said, Sister Bing, forget it, it's just some medicinal materials, not for sale here, it's the same if you go to other places to buy. No, I have to buy it today. Luo Bing puffed up his cheeks, and he didn't know who he was angry with. He gritted his teeth and said, Seller, tell me how much these things cost. I will pay double. The shopkeeper rubbed his forehead and said with a wry smile, the rules of the shop cannot be broken. Yang Kai smiled and said, Shopkeeper, if you have money, don't make money as a bastard, since this girl is willing to pay double the price for these, then sell them to her. Hearing this, the shopkeeper immediately cast a grateful look at Yang Kai, bowed and said, thank you for the large number of guests. Luo Bing shouted, why are you talking as if he gave it to me? This lady snatched it from me. Yes, it was you who snatched it, I am willing to bow down. Yang Kai nodded repeatedly. That's more or less the same. Luo Bing's face was slightly amiable, he lifted his head triumphantly, knocked on the table and said, tell me, how many source crystals are there? The shopkeeper looked at the abacus in front of him, and said, if this customer buys it, it will be 18,604,300 source crystals, and the fraction can be wiped off, so it is 18,600,000. That's it, so Miss Luo only needs to pay 37.2 million source crystals. Gudong. Luo Bing couldn't help swallowing, and said with difficulty, how much? The shopkeeper raised his head and reported the price again with a calm expression. Now even Chu Yu couldn't help but widen his eyes, looking at Yang Kai in shock. He never thought that the things Yang Kai bought would require so many source crystals. Such a sum of source crystals is enough to move most of the source crystals. Not so much. With such huge financial resources, it has already shown that Yang Kai is not an ordinary warrior. Luo Bing also seemed to be stupid, and he didn't come back to his senses for a long time. After a long time, Luo Bing said in a shy voice, Shopkeeper, did you calculate correctly? The anecdote said neither humble nor overbearing. The old man has been in charge of this shop for 30 years, and he has never made a mistake. Yang Kai grinned and said, why, Miss Luo has no money to buy it. Who said I have no money? Luo Bing hopped like a rabbit whose tail had been trampled upon hearing this little source crystal, isn't in my lady's eyes. Father gave it to me, pocket money is much more than that. Enon. Yang Kai couldn't help nodding, clasped his fists and said, Miss Luo is rich and powerful, I admire you. Luo Bing said in a low voice, it's just that I was in a hurry to go out today, so I didn't bring it with me. Yang Kai smiled, squinting at her and said, Miss Luo, don't you want to pay on credit? Who said I want to pay on credit? Luo Bing blushed, she really had this plan just now, but after being teased face to face by Yang Kai, how could she have the face to do this, so she could only look at Chu Yu expectantly, said, Brother Yu. Chu Yu wiped his space ring almost instinctively, and the corner of his mouth twitched, Sister Bing, I only have 10 million. Luo Bing stomped his feet and said, why don't you bring more source crystals when you go out? With a speechless expression on Chu Yu's face, he thought that 10 million is already a lot, and this is all the family property he has saved so hard, how can there be more? What's more, even if there are more, they can't be taken out at this time. In order to get angry, he spent double the price to buy some medicinal materials. After spending it, it was his source crystal, so it was impossible for Luo Bing to return it to him. Thinking of this, Chu Yu glared at Yang Kai resentfully, thinking that this kid was secretly playing tricks to prevent him from stepping down. Yang Kai pretended he didn't see it, he laughed, and said, Miss Luo didn't bring enough money, if that's the case, then I'll take these herbs. Stop, Luo Bing yelled, and threw himself directly on the medicinal material, protecting it with his body, as if protecting something extremely important, and shouted at Yang Kai, wait a while, I will go back and ask my father to give it to me. I have enough source crystals. Will the city lord give it to you? Yang Kai curled his lips. As long as Luo Jin has not lost his mind, it is impossible to give Luo Bing such a large sum of source crystals, just to get angry, and more likely to send someone to teach Yang Kai a lesson. To be continued.